We're just waiting for the clerk to tell us to go.
Yes, I'm waiting for the live stream.
No problem. I would never rush the clerk.
Thank you. Madam Mayor, it is 6:01 and we are live.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the regular City Commission meeting of Tuesday, April 15th, 2025. May we have the roll call, please?
Mayor Betty Resch.
Here.
Vice Mayor Sarah Maliga.
Present.
Commissioner Christopher McVoy.
Here. Commissioner
Mimi May.
Present.
Commissioner Anthony Segrich.
Present. Thank you. We have two presents now. Three. Thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to lead the invocation and Commissioner McVoy will lead the pledge. Being elected to the positions that we've been elected to is a daunting responsibility and a privilege hard to explain. I pray that each one of us works for the best interest of the city, listening to each other, respecting each other, looking at all sides of each issue. And sometimes if you have to change your mind, that's a good thing. So I ask you to support us and to guide us to leading us into decisions which will support the city and keep our wonderful little city moving forward. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. Are there any additions, deletions, or reordering?
Yes, Madam
No,
Mayor.
Madam. Oh,
Well,
I'm
we
sorry.
have a conflict of interest here. Vice Mayor Malega.
I would just like consensus to move new business E up under consent agenda above public hearings because we have many people in the audience. And I know we have a bunch of kids who are going to be here and they need to get home.
Okay, any problem with that?
I'll second that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Where did you want to move it?
Under, in between consent and public hearings.
Okay.
Oh, I'm see. So you just want to keep it as new business E, but it'll be heard after consent.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so that's going to be, it's still going to be E?
Yes.
Yes, it'll be easier. Just keep it as E.
Okay. It gets very confusing sometimes.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're just going to reorder. I'll keep you on track.
Okay, so motion, we've had a motion a second to change it. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Okay, of course. All right, so presentations. I have a proclamation here that I'm very excited about. Whereas the city of Lake Worth Beach, the electric utility system provides services to over 27,000 homes and businesses and must be maintained in operation 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year during periods of rain, cold, heat, thunderstorms, and hurricanes. And whereas the national system of electric transmission lines is kept in a high state of readiness and reliability by over 120,000 dedicated and skilled men and women, collectively known as electric linemen, and who are essential and valued employees at all electric utilities across the country. And whereas electric linemen are a cohesive group who must work safely in hazardous conditions while maintaining and restoring electrical service to our homes and businesses, and who have chosen a career in the electric utility and industry and have achieved certification as linemen after a rigorous apprenticeship to perform a job that has been ranked as one of the 10 most dangerous jobs in the country. And whereas the linemen of our city of Lake Worth Beach Electric Utility are dedicated and hardworking individuals who perform this work daily to ensure the safe and reliable delivery of electric energy to our homes and businesses, and where it is most fitting and proper that the city of Lake Worth Beach observe this special day to recognize Lake Worth Beach's hometown heroes, our electric utility linemen. Now, therefore, I, Betty Resch, Mayor of the City of Lake Worth Beach, Florida, by virtue of the authority vested in me and on behalf of the Commission, do hereby proclaim April 18th, 2025 as Lineman Appreciation Day, and witness whereof I have set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Lake Worth Beach, Florida, to be affixed this 18th day of April, 2025. From our hearts, we thank you. And I think we should have a picture. These are the guys, when the lights go out, they're the ones that are going out to fix it.
Is anybody gonna speak?
I don't know, is anybody gonna?
Ben might want to.
You're not Mr. Liberty. What? Not directly. They're all pointing to you. Take the microphone. Say a few words.
For the record, Mike Gibson, foreman with our electric utility.
I just want to say thank you to you all having us here.
Short and sweet. Okay, thank you very much. Come on, we'll all decide what we're doing. We're deciding. Yeah, it's like, one, two, three. Take care of it. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm stay safe out there, guys. Literally, stay safe. Making everything amazing. Thank you very much.
So, Madam Mayor, I can assure you that they're not as shy about speaking back at the shop as they are here. And I can tell you that they literally just came here from the job, and you can tell by how they're dressed that they're the ones who do the work. The rest of us are the ones that do the talking. So we do appreciate them coming out tonight. So thank you very much. And as a public service message, I'll add two things. Number one, we use the term lineman, but lineman also includes line women. We do have one certified line woman who works on our team. She's in our materials management side in the warehouse. But also as a public service announcement, some of these folks grew up in the city and came up through our apprentice program. So for young folks in high school, grade school, maybe even college that want to have great careers in public service, consider being a lineman, a certified lineman nationally is a great career opportunity.
It really is a great.
Thank you.
If it's in you. Yeah. Just keep them safe. That's all we ask. Okay, next up, we have a presentation by Elise Carhart, the Palm Beach County Fire Rescue Community Risk Reduction Division Director. And here they come. Our own chief. Good afternoon. Thanks for coming down.
Good evening, Madam Mayor. As we've discussed.
Just introduce yourself for the record that we.
Certainly. Craig Spieghalter, Palm Beach County Fire Rescue District Chief. As we've discussed here in front of the commission before, you're aware that your fire rescue service has a depth of service in a number of areas. Elise is here tonight as part of our community risk reduction division. That incorporates our fire inspectors, our investigators, our public educators, community outreach. And she's going to give a brief discussion on the outreach we plan on doing here in the coming weeks within the city of Lake Worth.
Thank you very much. Come on up.
Good evening. Thank you for the time. I'll just take a few minutes. So my name is Elise Carhart with Palm Beach County Fire Rescue in the community education section. And this evening, I just wanted to make you all and the citizens of Lake Worth Beach aware. Palm Beach County Fire Rescue last year was awarded a grant through FEMA, a fire prevention and safety grant that allowed us to purchase alarms. Now, these are smoke alarms and carbon monoxide alarms in one. It's a 2-in-1 instead of 2 separate alarms. And they have long life batteries inside of them, which they're warranted for 10 years. So no more change the clock, change the battery, just kind of maintain the alarm. And we're awarded a lot of these. And we have many service areas within Palm Beach County Fire Rescue's jurisdiction. And where we would like to provide the service of coming out, we team up with the American Red Cross and volunteers in the community and volunteers through organizations the American Red Cross aligns with and teams up with, along with our reserve volunteer battalion. And we go, we have residents sign up if they're interested. Our blitz that we're doing throughout the city is going to be June 14th. It is a Saturday between the hours of 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. Residents would just sign up by calling the telephone number that's on the flyer, give us their information, and we have some flyers, and Chief Spiegelhalter will send it electronically as well. So you have access to it. You can send it out through your social media platforms and newsletters and what other means, but they just sign up. We put them on a list, and that day we have teams who go out and do the installations. So we'll have 1 or 2 installers, and then we have 1 or 2 educators. So while the installations are being done, and by the way, our goal is to install alarms in every sleeping room and outside the sleeping rooms and on every main living area of the home. So we're not limited to the number that we do install. We just want everyone to be protected, but we also educate the residents about fire safety and hurricane preparedness. We have 2 different risk hazards going on. So the number 1 cause of home fires is, what do you think?
Smoking.
Actually, that's the number 1 cause of home fire deaths.
Ooh,
Yes.
because
but
they're
the
asleep
number-
when they fall asleep with a
Correct.
cigarette.
Yep. But the number 1 cause of home fires is actually cooking.
I was
And
gonna say
it's
kitchen.
why I don't do
Unattended
it.
cooking, you don't do it. That's okay too. Carbon monoxide poisoning with power outages, and some residents even moving from other areas of the country aren't really fully, versed on our risks when it comes to hurricanes and power outages. So portable generators are very, unfortunately, common to give exposure to carbon monoxide. So what's nice also about these alarms is they have voice alerts, so we can program them for the specific room we put them in. It'll tell you the den, the hallway, the guest bedroom, and it will also tell you what risk that you are in danger of, whether it is smoke or carbon monoxide. Regardless, we just encourage the residents to evacuate and call fire rescue. Let us do what we're really good at and try to investigate. Well, we will investigate and we will mitigate whatever that risk and danger is. So in the 70s and 80s, we used to have upwards of 10, 11 or more minutes to evacuate. Nowadays, with all the furnishings and everything inside of our home made out of petroleum products and plastics, they produce toxic gases. And essentially, we have less than 3 minutes nowadays to evacuate safely. The alarms provide an early warning, giving occupants more time to evacuate safely and to call 911. Now, aside from the grant, we also have for residents and citizens who are hearing impaired or deaf, we have bedside fire alarm, bed shaker alarm clocks. They talk to the
Oh my
smoke
God.
alarms. So it has like a little, almost looks like a hockey puck that can be placed underneath the pillow or underneath the mattress. And it communicates. So when the smoke alarm sounds, when it alerts, the alarm clock senses that and it shakes. It makes a motion
That's
to
wonderful.
wake the
That's
person
so
up.
cool.
And we also have strobe smoke alarms too. So again, with being hearing impaired, you need something visual during awake time. So we can also, for residents who have the needs, we can install those too. So we really want to hyper focus on our citizens and residents that are living in more vulnerable types of building construction, mobile homes, manufactured homes, residents who are on fixed income where they rely on more resources from the government. And that's what we're here for. And that is our goal, to make everyone safe. And we would just love for everybody to sign up.
That's
so
an
we can-
amazing
Yeah.
program. Thank you.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes.
Tenants you don't have to be the homeowner, a tenant anyone that's living in the place can.
So it gets a little tricky with rentals, because by Florida state statute, state law, the landlord is required to provide and install working smoke alarms, but we kind of know situations are different. So we don't get in the middle of that, and we don't ask a lot of questions when it comes to who owns. But what is necessary is the owner is aware that we would be coming in and that we have the resident's permission.
Right.
And someone 18 years, we need an adult home. So
Right.
18 years old or older. So we don't get into that divide. with rental versus owning.
Good.
We just, the resident has to be there. It can't be the landlord in place of the resident. Like
Okay,
it
and
has to be
it's-
the person residing.
Now that the city cannot go in and do interior inspections for code enforcement for life safety issues, this is especially important because we can't tell anymore, if the landlord has put in, you can't code violate them for not doing it. So that's really a wonderful program.
Yes, and we don't have that authority either.
No, but
Yeah.
but people are
Yeah.
inviting you in, which is the
Yes.
difference.
Yes.
Ms. Malega?
Thank you. My question was, is it mobile homes, condos, apartments, any type of structure?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Ms. May?
Hi, thank you. Just a quick question, regarding how are you going to get the word out specifically to the mobile home communities?
So a lot of that's a face-to-face and trying to make contact with whatever the property management is going to be there or the main office. We have a number of different ways.
Okay,
A lot of
good.
in-person is very helpful. We also, we rely and ask, for assistance to team up with the cities for help with the communication conduits. However, you get messaging out, whether it's newsletters or social media or, whatever that case may be. I want us to start looking into signage. So that's something that maybe offline I can, try to talk with Chief Spiegelhalter to talk with you all to see what kind of resources the city might have, whether it's public works or that kind of thing to kind of help, in those neighborhoods where we're really trying to focus on. But word of mouth is very, very helpful
Okay,
also.
excellent. Thank you.
Yes, we know a couple of people that have mobile, are the managers of mobile home parks. That's really good.
That would be very helpful.
Thank you very much. Mr. McFoy?
Yes.
Just to say that I participated, helped with some of this. I don't know, maybe it's as much as 10 years ago because the alarms might be bad, but with the fire department and in some of the mobile home parks, and it's a great program.
Yes.
Happy to
it's-
help on the
Thank you very
14th.
much. Just want everyone to be safe.
Thank you so much. And okay, that's great. That's great. You're going to give a card to Ms. May? It's the prevention idea is I know how quickly you guys get out there. The response time in our town is remarkable, but every second counts. So
Yep.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
All right. Thank you. Okay, next up, we have a presentation of this is important. This is Shayla. Presentation, our own Shayla Ellis has become a master municipal clerk, and Quintella Morer, Florida Association of City Clerks Southeast District Director, is going to be presenting this to our own Shayla, who has worked so hard to get this honor and this accomplishment.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the commission, staff, and attendees. It is my pleasure to be here this evening. My name is Quinn Moore. I am the Florida Association of City Clerks Southeast District Director, and I am currently the city clerk for the city of Green Acres. So your neighbor is right down the way. It is with great pleasure that I'll be here this evening to congratulate your city on the recent accomplishments of your Deputy City Clerk, Shayla Ellis. Upon receiving her Master Municipal Clerk designation, which we call MMC in our world, to achieve the Master Municipal Clerk designation, the first step is becoming a certified municipal clerk through the completion of the approved Municipal Clerk Institute program conducted by the John Scott Daly Institute of Government. The program aids clerks in improving job performance and recognizes the professionalism of a municipal clerk. Currently, 18% of clerk members have reached the Master Municipal Clerk designation, which is not a lot. And it's a very big deal that you have a city clerk and a deputy city clerk as a MMC. It is very rare, very rare. Master Municipal Clerk designation is required to attain 168 hours in advanced education with 80% coursework in public administration, 20% in electives, and attain 20 points in professional and social contributions to include attendance at professional meetings and conferences. This is quite a task considering the day-to-day operations of the city clerk's office. It's a big task. Your Deputy City Clerk, Shayla, is now part of an elite group of professionals in local government, a group she could not have been a part of if it wasn't for your commitment to support her on this journey. Considering the speed-drastic nature of change these days, Lifelong learning is not only desirable, but it's also necessary to keep pace with the growing demands and changing needs of the citizens that we serve every day. Your city can take great pride in Shayla achieving this great accomplishment. On behalf of Florida Association of City Clerks, the president, board of directors, and all of our members, Shayla, we are so proud of you. We are so proud of you. So you take this plaque, you hang it up, you wear your pin with pride. You wear your pin with pride. It is a great accomplishment and not everyone is able to achieve it. So good job.
All the hard work. Let's go down. Time
Thank
for a
you all.
picture.
You want to say anything?
Please.
I just want to say, you know, I appreciate the city standing behind me. Since I've been here, I've gotten not only my CMC, my Florida Certified Records Management, but my MNC. And Melissa is always like, hey, whatever class you want to take, let's do it. And so we're both firm believers that education is important and to continue learning. So thank you.
Really, the level of skill and competency and hard work and dedication that our staff has, not just the people that are being honored today, but everybody. We are eternally grateful for the day-to-day operations of keep this wacky little city going, and thank you all so much. Public participation of non-agenda items and the consent agenda. Do I have one card? Are there any other? Oh, we have a couple cards. All right. First, we're going to start with Miss Reggie, and after that, Peggy Fisher. Ms. Lowe, you want to? On E.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Madam Mayor. At this time, I would like to have the mayor to come down. Please stay here. Mr. McVoid, next to her. Mr. Anthony, next to her. You, next to Mr. Anthony, and you next to Mr. McVoid.
Boss.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Did we do it right?
Yes.
Okay. Like that?
No. Yeah, you got it. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Right.
Guys, listen. I have a message for each one of you. I've been praying for each one of you since the election. I observe things. I may not say anything. And you living in a beautiful city. And we all need to be thankful for City of Lake Worth. When you were chosen by the Creator to be in your space, there's a reason. Sometimes as individual, we get mad because the people that we wanted to be in power is not the one elected. It's not for us to choose. It's for the Creator to decide. Therefore, tonight, I want to say, Mr. McVoy, congratulations for your re-election. Mr. Anthony, thank you for your new post. Madam Mayor, you have a job to do as our mayor. Your job is to lead us with compassion, with love. Therefore, before you start a meeting, can you do a quick check-in with each of your commissioners? so that you know where they are and you can support them. And we will do the same for you as well. That's the message that I have for you guys. Please, as you lead tonight and into the future, keep that in mind. It's not about you. It's about the greater mission. Therefore, once you step in that seat, forget about McVoy, forget about Anthony, Mimi. Think about the people that were elected you. The world has so much negativism, and to you can vibrate love, compassion, understanding for each other, because you are our leaders, you are our example. And if we watch the way you guys behave at the meeting, what do you think our children is gonna behave like? Therefore, I want you guys to really think about this. And you are in my heart. I pray for you guys every day to have love, compassion. And as far as Reggie concerned, whoever get elected or supposed to be elected. That's why I don't deal in politics, because people make it too personal. And I don't like that, because I'm a servant leader. I'm here to serve the people. I'm here to serve the mission. Whatever you guys are doing is greater than you. Please keep that in mind. And I love you. Thank you for everything. And as you vote, always think about that too. It's not about you. We put you here. God put you here for a reason. It's to lead us, to think for us, to be our voices. Therefore, as you make decisions, think about that. Thank you very much. And I love you all. Thank you.
I want to thank you for that, Miss Reggie. And I believe that we do work up here, as I said in my little prayer tonight, that we make decisions about what's best for the city, not about a personal agenda. And I believe that we are striving always to work as a team, to respect each other, to listen to each other's ideas, and sometimes change our minds, which sometimes happens. So thank you very much. We appreciate your thoughts. Peggy Fisher.
Peggy Fisher, North A Street. I'm coming because I had an incident in downtown Lake Worth about 10 days ago, where I was confronted by someone on Lake Avenue asking me for money. I had nothing but my car keys in my pocket, and I said, no, I don't have anything. The person then got very aggressive with me, telling, let's go to your car. Come on, let's go to your car. And I said, no, and I said, no. And then I told him, move on and leave me alone. And then it got sort of back and forth and very negative. And he then finally moved on and started to approach a couple sitting at a table outside a restaurant, which I yelled at him to leave them alone. And as I was walking to my car, another individual came walking down Lake Avenue, cussing, saying obscenities, calling people for derogatory comments, or just the air derogatory comments, being a disruptive person. And there was not anyone, and I'm sorry to say this, Captain Kern, there was no one present in the area from PBSO. And this was at noon. It's not the first time I've been downtown and seen something and had to try and go find a deputy sitting in their car somewhere, or in their car in the alley. I did call the non-emergency number. I reported it. I had to leave to continue what I was in the process of doing. And I left a name, which they knew, of someone to talk to about the incident if a deputy showed up, which I'm told no one showed up. I firmly believe we need to address how the public is being treated as they come to our city and walk on our two main streets. It is important that they not have to feel threatened, feel in any way intimidated. These are known people. I've talked to several businesses who say they're there every day. And so I'm coming to relay my experience, although sometimes people say it's not the truth. This is the truth. You can pull the PBSO record or whatever you want. I'm just asking us to address our downtown, and if we want visitors to come to our downtown, we have to make it feel like a place that's safe and welcoming. And I think that includes having a deputy visible on Lake and Lucerne. Thank you.
Thank you. Funny, normally we don't make comments about this, but funny you should mention that. I personally had a conversation with Captain Karn and Lieutenant Cohen, and I know that Mimi also has done the same thing, to have more patrols downtown, to have more of a visible thing. It's become more of a problem. And I think that person you're referring to has been taken into custody. So we understand what you're talking about. We are all very concerned about safety of our residents, and the PBSO is going to be addressing that. And they'll get back to us about how that's happening, but we do know there needs to be more of a presence downtown. Thank you. Monica Bellotti, followed by Wade Hitchcock.
Hi, I'm Monica Bellotti, live at 915 North Palmway. I am a ex-tree board member. I did a term a few years back. It's been brought to my attention from a visit to the tree board meetings that there was a project in Bryant Park called Tiny Forest.
Right.
And that was done with a group called Nest, Natives Encouraging Shade Trees. Trees were purchased from our with shade tree money from cutting down native trees in the city. So if you have to cut down a tree, you have to get a permit and pay for the permit. And then that money goes into a fund to replace shade trees. The trees that were selected for Bryant Park project were proposed to be all native trees. I saw the list at a tree board meeting. And what was installed was 15 green buttonwoods, which are native, and 15 calophyllums, which are on the Invasive Species Act list of Florida. It's FISC Invasive Species Act. So I'm not sure how those trees got into the project because they were not on the proposed plant list. They look very similar to the buttonwoods. You almost can't tell them apart. But half the trees that were installed were on the Invasive Species Act list. So I've talked to other ex-tree board members. They're all mortified, but busy, and understand there's not much we could do at this point. I feel like there are more appropriate trees that could have been planted in the park. We have so many beautiful native trees. If you ever travel to the Keys or any of our preserves in Palm Beach County, any of those would have been great. But calophyllum was planted. So I really think that this needs to be stopped. They're still currently planting these trees. They are purchasing them again with the 50,000 used that was donated, not donated, from the permits from cutting down live oak trees. And they're purchasing them from Smarty Plants. And I don't think they're very smart trees to put in, for the reason being that we need more native plant diversity, and planting one of the same thing, either oaks or buttonwoods, isn't great. And then invasive species on top of that. There was a list of 20 trees that could have been planted. I think a better selection could have been made to preserve that really critical ecosystem we have next to the water. That's our space to shine. If we travel, you go to the coast, you want to see native plants that bring in native birds and have a beautiful ecosystem. And instead, we planted something from Africa, I think, or South, the islands somewhere. And I guess environments are changing, but I just feel like we have so many beautiful native trees. They could have planted a native ficus or a fiddlewood or another shade tree that would have made it look like the Florida coast instead of another place.
Thank you. That's time.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Up next, Wade Hitchcock.
Madam Mayor, I know we don't comment, but you just did comment on some of the other ones, so.
Well, that was a very, for a specific thing.
Well, this would be for a very specific thing. I too was quite alarmed to see because when we were presented the
Okay.
tiny forest
Okay.
thing,
That's a
we were
comment.
given a list of trees, and I find it a little mind-boggling that we would plant not only non-native ones, but an invasive one.
I'm going to find out from Ms. Silverblatt because she's very much on top of that. Thank you very much. Mr. Hitchcock?
How y'all doing today? My name is Wade Hitchcock, 1506 13th Avenue North. I have a safety issue. And I want to know how you guys are gonna fix it. Sunday, we had a real bad accident on D and 13th Avenue. Now, I walked that sidewalk. They plowed through the stop sign, through the man's fence, all the way into his boat in his yard. And it's just a matter of time. Someone's going to get killed at these intersections. A Street and 13th is the same way. They run these stop signs like they're not even there. And I ride a bike, and many times I've had to turn, stop, because they're just plowing right through there. We need to have the cops working 13th Avenue morning and late afternoon when everybody's coming home, because the big diesel trucks, they come flying up our road, and we can't even get out of our driveways because they're coming up so fast, and they pull right in front of us and shoot us birds, yelling, screaming at us. Why can't we get speed bumps? Put them on B Street, you just paved. I mean, that's a side street. C Street has it. And they come up our, but you have anything that's east of Dixie has speed bumps, but we can't get them. For what reason?
There is a procedure to apply for those, Mr. I see Mr. Brown taking notes, and thank you very much.
Well, hold on, I'm not done yet.
Oh, okay.
And what are we gonna do about these kids riding these bikes and hogging the road, popping their wheelies and holding up traffic? Because we hit them, they're gonna sue us. And this is not right. I pay a lot of tax money in this city. And I've been here my whole life. And this is the worst I've ever seen. So, I mean, there's gotta be some stuff done to make it safe, because even coming out from the golf course on my bike, they just run right through there, and I have to constantly watch them like a hawk. And I don't mind watching and being on defense, but not to the point where I have to turn my bike into the curb and everything else to keep from getting hit. So I think you guys really need to start looking. And I don't know, we need more money in the budget for the sheriff department or something. I mean, this is getting out of hand. So I think you all need to look into it.
Thank you very much. And up next is former Commissioner John Searcy.
Well, good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Congratulations to Officer Anthony and Chris. I can say by your first name. Been a while. I put mine out at the end intentionally because I thought, oh, there's going to be a lot of people saying things on that, but there must be a lot of agenda item comments tonight. I also just wanted to come up here and say, I know that I was keeping score, and you do get a lot of people that legitimately come up and say, hey, there's these things that need some attention, and as is this forum for this to happen. But I did want to come up here and say, I really think you all are doing a good job. I think you will do a good job. I think everybody's trying very hard. I've sat up there before. I know what this is about, and I just want to participate more. I'm here more now than I was before, very busy, but now I'm around. And also wanted to thank the CRA. They're doing a great job, and I hope to participate in that board here soon and be around a little bit more. So I just wanted to say hello, and that keep up the good work too. You all do pay attention. I know that we see things change, and I'm looking forward to us getting in that next level here that we've always been looking for, but improvement is happening, and we know that you're working really hard at it. So thank you very much.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
And Mrs. Searcy was the District 4 Commissioner. So thank you very much.
Get your application in for CRA.
Hey, Jill Carlin? Well, if she's not here, we don't read it. Okay.
People could ask that it be read.
No, we don't. If there's none here. Okay, so approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve the minutes?
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Consent agenda?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
I did have a comment.
Can we
It's the
second it
consent agenda. You
first?
didn't
Yeah.
pull it.
Seconded?
Okay, it's on the consent agenda. You didn't pull it.
Comment?
Could I make a comment?
Sure.
It's one that I've made before that, I see that we have on the consent agenda a proclamation for Earth Day and a proclamation for Arbor Day. We just heard from the public of something that doesn't particularly fit with Arbor Day. I think we have heard from a lot of people that we do not do very well on trees in this community, and it's simply walking around town, you can figure it out and compare it to other parts of South Florida that do better. So it's nice that we put in a proclamation, but I would be a lot happier if we would actually do more things toward Earth Day or Arbor Day rather than simply just proclaiming it on consent agenda.
Thank you. And I just, along those lines, I just got a text from Gail Silverblatt, who's part of the nest and was very active in getting those trees planted. And she heard the comment, she's watching, and she heard the comment from Ms. Bellotti. That is not true. They are recommended by IFAS, and there are two Calophyllum. This is the non-invasive Calophyllum, Calophyllum brasilensis. So with all due respect, Ms. Bellotti, that your statement is incorrect, according to Gail, who was the person in charge pretty much of getting these trees. So let's just set the record straight. Thank you. Go, Gail. Okay, so consent agenda, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And now we're bringing up new business E, which is a grant agreement with For the Children fiscal agent for healthier Lake Worth Beach. Come on up.
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Come on up, ladies, children, everybody that's interested.
Healthier Lake Worth Beach.
I know Miss Lowe has a comment she wants to read. Do we want to hear from staff at all about this before do you want to just go into it, what we're doing here? With For the Children, the grant agreement?
The Vice Chair, did you want to mention, because this was one you had brought forward? I didn't know if you want to go into it or.
Yes. Hey, how everybody who's here and listening, this has actually been in the works for 6 months, I think, maybe a little bit longer. Healthier Lake Worth Beach, project director Carmel, I'm trying to see her, came and did a presentation on the good work that Healthier Lake Worth Beach does in conjunction with their new fiscal agent from a year ago, which is For the Children, because community partners had to pull away and not be the fiscal agent anymore. Healthier Lake Worth Beach and the board and all the volunteers you see standing around have been working with our code department, wherever Yolanda is, and taking referrals from people who have code violations, who may not have the means or the ability physically, mentally, or financially to bring their home out of code violations. So Healthier Lake Worth Beach came and did a presentation. I had made a motion and we all agreed to give a donation out of the general fund, which I think general fund to help offset, because this really is helping the city. So that's what we're here. There's been legal was involved in grant agreements and all kinds of stuff had to be done, but that's why we're here tonight, because they have a very long list of people who are eagerly waiting these funds to get their house into compliance.
Thank you very much.
I think I summed it up.
Okay, Carmela, do you want to make a statement?
Well, I know that some of the concern, first of all, thank you so much for agreeing to donate this money to the community. And I thank everybody here for showing up, for their support. And I'm just appreciating, your presence right now. And I know there has been some concern about, the areas that Healthier Lake Worth Beach serve. So our organization, Palm Health Foundation, has invested $1.6 million so far in the Lake Worth Beach area. And it has been solely for the 4 districts, in 33460 area. So this money will only serve only residents that live within the 33460, the 4 district. And that's one of the concerns that I wanted to, address. And code also refer only residents that live in the 33460 as they serve only that area. This is the code compliance, city's code compliance division.
And isn't it true that last time you were here, you said that most of the people who are served, there's more people on the east side of Dixie than the
There
opposite
are
side?
more people on the east side of this Dixie and the north side of Lakewood Beach than there are on the south side of Lakewood Beach. Yeah, we have 5 code officers sending referral. We handle about 25, between 20 to 25 referrals per year. And so far this year, and we're not even at our fiscal year, end of our fiscal year yet, we have spent $55,000 in, code appeal, compliance.
Ms. Bryant, would you like to say something? Come on.
I would just like to say I really, code compliance in the city really appreciate the Healthy Lake Worth Beach team because they are assisting us with complying violations for owner occupied residents. It's no one having rental, it's not rental property, it's owner occupied, and they are much in the need of our assistance, and they're doing a phenomenal job. Every year they do a really good job with helping us. Even prior to receiving this monies, they were putting in their own monies to help us with bringing properties into voluntary compliance, which kept them out of special magistrate hearing. So we appreciate that.
And it's great to
Appreciate
see
it.
that
Thank
kind
you.
of cooperation.
Yep.
I know Ms. Lowe has a card in, so why don't we hear from Ms. Lowe?
I think that Carmel and Yolanda have already said, but as they have already said, when you see this volunteer group up here, and since Health and Lake Worth been in our city, we have been helping her. I work side by side with her and Patrick. We have been out there helping these homes that had been referred to us. And some of these code violators that in jeopardy, I get calls personally from Yolanda, and I get with Carmela and Patrick, and we go out there and do this work. So before this grant, and we appreciate what the city is doing, like she said, it's not just in one area, it's in the whole city that Health of Lake Worth has been helping. And we're just glad and appreciative of the help that the city is giving.
Thank you. Mr. McVoy?
Yeah. I have no problem whatsoever with the work that Healthier Lake Worth does. I certainly hugely appreciate the volunteers who work with individual owners to try to correct code violations, to improve the homes. All those things are very good. However, at a different point in our agenda today, we indicated that we needed a policy that would be crucial for promoting transparency, accountability, and efficient use of resources. That's a quote. We also, according to that agenda item, need clear guidelines and procedures to ensure that funds are used for their intended purposes and benefit the community as a whole. My concern with us moving forward here is that there are many nonprofits in the city of Lake Worth or who work in the city of Lake Worth and do good things. And for us to simply say, hey, we're going to take a substantial amount of city funds and put it to one with no procedure.
We already voted on this. This is done. This has been voted on.
May
6 months
I
ago.
not be interrupted?
I am going to interrupt.
Well, no, please.
May I not be interrupted, please? I have the floor. That's Robert's rules. Thank you. Again, I want to make it clear that this is not a concern about this particular organization. It is a concern of how we as a city allocate public funds when we have many different nonprofits that do many different good things in our community. We to my knowledge, do not have any procedure. Normally, when this is basically a grant, I believe it's in fact labeled on the agenda as a grant. Typically, grant processes have criteria for who can apply, what are the criteria for awarding the grants. Often they have requirements of what you have to report in later on. There might be a grant management office, all these different things. There's a pretty standard way to do that. And it concerns me. I got one right here, Family Promise. I've got another one, Interactive Community Alliances. They're doing education for free, for training people for job work. Is that a bad thing? No, I think we would all agree it's a good thing. I've been telling them the city doesn't have any money to support nonprofits. What am I going to go back and say to these people? Hey, we don't have any money to support nonprofits, but we
Mayor,
made
I
a
call the
random
question.
decision.
May I say something, please?
I wasn't
Well, you've
actually
made a
done.
point. You've made a point.
I'm concerned about procedure of how we spend public funds without any procedure.
you.
And without one. And
Okay,
that,
we also have a comment from Ms. Fisher.
Commissioner McVoy, while I understand what you're trying to say as far as other nonprofits in the community that are serving the people of Lakewood Beach, Healthier Lakewood Beach is the people initiative. It is a community-driven, residents-led initiative that is focused on behavioral health. So when this money is spent, it's spent in the city. The Lakewood Beach residents actually voted behavioral health in the way they defined it is their community environment. So this is being done to improve the neighborhoods of Lakewood Beach. It's not, it's not like the money is leaving the community. It is staying in the city, but it is also helping the neighborhoods of Lakewood Beach look better, look more attractive. Thus, that will help reduce the crime and actually attract less undesirable people in Lakewood Beach. This is something that the residents of Lakewood Beach have chosen to do, and this is a solution that they have created together in order to sustain and maintain the beauty of Lakewood Beach.
Thank you.
And that is getting all residents to improve on their curb appeal.
We're not going into a conversation. Miss May has her light on.
Hi, I just wanted to ask a question for anybody who's listening or in the room. If they wanted to volunteer to help repair the homes, who would they call and how would they get a hold of you?
They will call me at 561.
Hold on, 561
801
801
2182.
2182.
Or they can call Arms of Hope Community.
Okay. Arms of Hope.
Which is 512.
Yep.
352. 350, I'm sorry.
6414. Okay, I got you. Because I have had residents ask about exactly this question. They have time, they have tools, and they want to help, but now we know where to put them.
Exactly.
So I will
And all
share
the
this.
partners working with us are giving back.
Yeah, and these are all Lake Worth Beach residents who just have time and tools.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Fisher?
Peggy Fisher, North A Street. This item is about the good work that Healthier Lake Worth Beach does in this city. And I thank all of them and all the volunteers. And there is no place in this agenda item for anything other than a discussion about this particular grant and the good work that it does in this city. The commissioners all have $10,000 each in discretionary funds. And they can give that funding to whomever they want. I have yet to find any rules about how they allocate that money. And so if we're going to talk about certain entities and what they get from the city, maybe we should look at what entities get the majority of funds from certain commissioners. And this should be addressing the good work that this organization does. I know they've done work in the Port of District 3 where I live, and I greatly appreciate it. And I hope you immediately take a vote on this and not listen to any more negativity. Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nay, for the reasons stated.
That's 4-1. Thank you. Okay, hey, you guys, thank you so much for the work that you do.
Uh, it's not about the work of the organization.
Okay, up
It's
next.
that there are many, many nonprofits, and it's not appropriate for us to simply, somebody makes noise and there's what? That's not a procedure.
We're gonna take a quick comfort break. We'll be back in 8 minutes.
That have been here for 20 years.
We did the consent agenda. We did that. Oh, now we're at the public hearings. Okay. Madam Clerk, are we back?
It is 7:07 and we have reconvened.
Thank you. Okay, next up. Public hearing, second reading, adopting the city's mobility plan and amending the city's comp plan to align with the goals and objections of the new mobility plan. Would you read by title, ma'am?
I will. This is ordinance 2024-19, an ordinance of the city of Lake Worth Beach, Florida, amending the future land use element, transportation element, housing and neighborhoods element, capital improvements element, and economic development element of the city's comprehensive plan, adopting the city of Lake Worth Beach mobility plan, and providing for severability, conflicts, codification, and an effective date.
Thank you. I think we have some guest speakers here tonight.
For the record, it's William Waters, Community Sustainability Director. This is a second reading. Lisa Neeson, who helped produce it, as well as Angela Biaggi, who both WGI, who are the primary consultants for creating the mobility plan, are here. It has been sent to the state. It's been reviewed by the Intergovernmental Review Council. So we can answer any additional questions you might have, but they're ready to get going on the next agenda item, which is part 2.
Ooh, I'll do. Mr. City Manager, I think we have a public comment on this one.
We do not, no.
I do, Madam Mayor.
Oh, you do? Okay.
I have one public comment.
Right, I read it. Okay, so let's have a motion in a second.
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, let's hear from the public.
The comments from Sam Smith, 109 North Palmway. I am against second reading of this ordinance as the city needs to deal with parking mandates for new development before changing zoning to comport with the mobility study, which pushes less parking for new development. Last meeting, there was supposed to be a discussion of the parking mandates and parking giveaways for new development, and that did not happen. You were putting the cart before the horse. That's the only comment I have on this item.
Thank you very much. Any comments from Ms. May?
I would just like to hear from Mr. Waters addressing that comment. It doesn't change any zoning, just.
No zoning has changed.
I didn't think so. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Malega.
Whatever my name is.
I always forget.
I did have questions and I had a conversation with Director Waters 2 weeks ago. I think it was our last week. My only concern with the language in there, everything I read, I wrote how, like to adopt and maintain appropriate levels of service standards for streets within the city. The city shall acquire where possible the need it right away. So as you explained to me, we're going to go deeper into that, right? In the next step. Okay.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. That's 4 ayes. Mr. McCoy
Yes,
is not.
one absent.
And 1 absent. Thank you. Okay, next up, we have unfinished business. WGI Task Order number 34B, preparation of a mobility plan, part 2, phase 1.
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Are there any public comments?
Nope.
Nope. Madam Clerk, any public comments?
I'm sorry, I'm lost. So that was what, unfinished business A, correct?
Correct.
No public comment on that.
Okay, does the staff want to say anything?
I think that since we brought him, and I'll let Lisa and Angela introduce him, but we do have the consultant that will be working on creating the fee structure. And I did run some numbers at the suggestion, maybe not implicitly, but implicitly from Commissioner Cedric about what we might be able to collect based on our history of building permits. And just as an example, if we were to base the fee hypothetically on 2.5% or so of our building permit value, although we might collect anywhere from $250,000 to $350,000 a year. However, certain types of development might be paying more than others, but we can let the gentleman, I think we have him available on Zoom, and Lisa and Angela can introduce him.
Thank you. Would you do that?
Certainly. Our consultant.
Just introduce yourself
Oh,
first.
my name is Lisa Nissenson. I'm Vice President for New Mobility. and connected communities. And at WGI, we've done a lot of work in and around the city, putting together a mobility plan that came up with a project list. As you know, we used to have transportation impact fees that have slowly been really replaced by this new notion of mobility fees. And our consultant, Mr. Jonathan Paul, is from New Consulting. He is the foremost expert on pulling together the math that is behind the fees, and really has done a good job. And again, we'll come into Lake Worth Beach to figure out all of the different facets of what go into a defensible and solid mobility fee whenever developers do come before you and make those calculations. So Mr. Paul is on Zoom.
See him. Good evening. Good evening, Mr. Paul.
All right. And Jonathan, if you just want to talk a little bit about what Lake Worth Beach can expect in the process going forward.
Yeah, no, thank you, Lisa. And thank you all for accommodating me. We actually had our adoption hearing in Crestview up in the Panhandle last night for their mobility plan and mobility fee. And then I've been working with Walton and Okaloosa counties up here for the past 5 years on implementing their mobility plans and mobility fees. It's really, in terms of for Palm Beach County, a number of your peer communities are moving forward with mobility plans and mobility fees. And the great team at WGI, working with your staffs, already put together a mobility plan for the city. We are working with your neighbors just to the west of you, the village of Palm Springs, developing a mobility plan and mobility fee, and just submitted today the technical report for downtown West Palm Beach for their mobility plan and mobility fee. We're having adoption hearings for Palm Beach Gardens 2 weeks, and a month ago we had it adopted for the city of Boynton Beach. So it's really ripe, and a lot of this is happening because there has been a big change in legislation this past year. This legislation essentially reinforced what Palm Beach Gardens did roughly 6 years ago, in which I was involved in that. Basically, any local government, regardless of whether or not you're in a charter county, which is what Palm Beach County is, has the right to adopt an alternative transportation system to get out from under traditional road concurrency. And to do that, you need to adopt a plan and you need to adopt the fee. So you've already done part one. You've already successfully gone through with a comprehensive plan amendment. The next step would be a mobility fee and then negotiations with the Palm Beach County. And unlike a few years ago when the Gardens was by itself, you now have 6 other municipalities joining you in the discussions with Palm Beach County in terms of moving away from level of service. And I hear there was a question earlier, regarding one of your comp plan items to maintain road level of service and acquire right of way. Well, most municipalities in Palm Beach County, especially those east of the interstate, aren't really in the road widening business anymore. And so they're looking to find alternatives to add sidewalks, add bike lanes, and to use mobility fees to fund them. So at the end of the day, our goal is to deliver you a defensible mobility fee that you can then negotiate with Palm Beach County and to keep most of that money within the city of Lake Worth Beach to fund your sidewalk needs, your streetscape, your bicycle lanes, and things that the city itself deems appropriate and necessary to accommodate your residents and your businesses.
So more
with
than money
that-
would stay with us.
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Any questions? Mr. Sedgwick?
So I think it's important to have some clarity for the public on, understanding the impact fees and I think people are in the impression that we as the city, when we charge those, we benefit fully from them. Could we quickly comment on, the impact fees that we've gathered in the past and roughly what Lake Worth Beach has seen as a benefit?
What paltry little
or
bit?
or not seen?
I just prodded your interim city manager to re-quote the numbers he provided at the pre-agenda meeting on Friday. they're very sobering.
Yeah.
And of course, I can't find that document right now because I left it sitting on my desk, my other desk. But basically, it was the county had done a presentation, this is years ago, where they basically listed all of the municipalities within Palm Beach County, and they showed how much they had actually paid in impact fees and how much money actually went back into their particular city. And as you kind of went down the list from Gardens and Boca and all these other places that had put in, millions of dollars with impact fees. You were seeing numbers in the 15s, the 20s, the 30s, as far as $1 million worth. We were about, what was it, 45,000 or something like that? We had put in,
4 million.
yeah, it was a little over 4 million, and we had like about 45,000 a change that came back into the city. And one of those projects, well, there's two projects. One was Boutwell and 10th Avenue North, which still isn't done.
Still not done.
And then Congress and 10th, which is outside of our actual city limits. So when you kind of looked at what was being done around the county, that's what this is about. We need to make sure that money that's actually coming here actually stays here so we can put it back into our infrastructure.
Thank you.
And I'm under the impression by completing our mobility plan, we are now eligible for grants that we were not eligible before. Is that grant eligibility also reliant on actually having a mobility fee schedule?
Not necessarily, and Lisa can go into, but we spent a great deal of time in putting together the part one of the mobility fee to be tailored to attract and be able to be as competitive as possible for as many grant opportunities as possible. And Lisa and her team have been great in forwarding grant opportunities to us as they become available. We haven't always qualified for them. We have had a couple that we're waiting to hear about, and the EPA grant that we put in, had major components for mobility. We, I think, stand a very good chance of being awarded it, but due to changes in DC, whether that's going to happen or not, we don't know. But that was a $20 million grant, and about 5.5 of it was geared toward mobility type items in the city. So we are going to have to spend a little bit of money in working toward making the grant applications. My office, DCS, doesn't really have the capability to apply for those, but I know that we have some grant assistance through finance department and others to help put together the applications themselves. And also the CRA has been very proactive in trying to put together grant opportunities that we either come in as a partner or we come in as a co-applicant or in some fashion like that. And so we will have, because of this part 2, Lisa available to us for another year, in essence, to help us identify those grant opportunities. And when they come in and they fit in with our needs, we will make application for those.
Great, thank you. We have a Ms. May. Oh,
yeah. Are the mobility fees limited only to the mobility projects, or can they also be used for infrastructure?
Well, typically they would reflect what's in your mobility plan, but from time to time, as we go through the process, if you feel that there's other infrastructure projects that would benefit from expenditure of mobility fees, you would have the ability to add those to your capital improvements program, but you would have to take a formal process to do that, and typically through your budget, to then make those eligible for expenditure of mobility fees. And there are certain limitations in terms of maintenance and operation. You're not able to use those fees for, but you are for a number of other things, for streetscape, for bicycle lanes, for sidewalks, for a pretty extensive list of improvements.
And based on this next phase, when would we be ready to charge fees? Would it be at the end of the next phase, or we would have to wait till the end of
Our
2026
goal is to
phase?
hopefully have something in place by the second quarter of fiscal year 26, or between January and March of 2026.
Thank you.
Ms. May?
Hi, thank you. Just a clarification on the mobility fees. So at this point, there are no mobility fees that come to the city, but they do have to, like if I was a developer and I developed a building, what fees would I be paying and to whom?
Oh, wow.
As of right now, you would pay road impact fees to Palm Beach County. The city itself would not receive any of those funds.
Okay, and then after this happens, would the developer still have to pay Palm Beach County and they would pay us as well?
No, the only fee that would be assessed would be the one issued by the city of Lake Worth. So your mobility fee would be the only fee on development. Sorry.
Okay, so that basically what we're gonna do is we're gonna team up with these other municipalities and kind of speak to the fact that, you know, the fees have to come back to us anyway, and we just want them directly, basically.
Well, I mean, we have to base it on a study and the data analysis, but yes, at the end of the day, the money that's paid by development would stay within the municipalities.
All right, thank you, Mr. Paul.
Thank you.
Mr. McVoy?
Well, I might add a little piece.
Oh, wait.
What
Yeah.
is fortuitous in this process is that Palm Springs, in working on theirs, there could be some cross fertilization of projects that they have that we could do together with them. Because there are improvements that need to be done to 6th Avenue South, 10th Avenue North in terms of safety, which again, our mobility plan included a major safety component and it's serving as our safety plan for the city. So there is a way possible to get some projects done a little more quickly and more effectively and efficiently in collaborations with other cities that have projects that marry up with ours.
Absolutely. It opens up not only additional grant opportunities through the TPA, the Transportation Planning Agency, but FDOT also has a number of programs where you have multiple local governments working together. There's opportunities for grant funding for that as well, which, you know, the state looks favorably on.
Thank you, Mr. McVoy.
Just a question. Has the county, and maybe this was already said, but has the county agreed that if we put in place these mobility fees for developers, they will let us off the hook on paying the impact fees that we used to pay them?
That's the negotiation part that was mentioned as part of phase 2 of this part 2. Is the adoption resolution, the ordinances and the interlocal agreement that we already have with the county that stipulates how they're collected. We will have to negotiate with the county, but you know, in a group, we stand a much better chance of achieving success than we would be on our own.
Yeah. Yeah. Just a couple other comments that relate both to the ordinance, the second reading, and to the part 2. I noticed some of the language of linking mobility plan, Vision Zero, complete streets, obviously our capital improvement plan and our comprehensive plan. Wonderful. I'm thrilled that we are integrating those things more. I'm very pleased to see the idea of focusing consciously on evolving, emerging methods of transportation, broadening it out. Like that. I like the idea that we're adopting standards, recognized standards, you know, where we can get them, state, federal, international, wherever. And the big one for me of all of this is, it's my impression. I think Lisa and I have talked about it before. I think we may have at some of the workshops and things. It's my impression, I don't know if it's accurate or not, but that one of the biggest barriers to more use of emerging and what do we call it, evolving modes of transportation is both the reality and the perception of safety. And so my kind of ideal to make sure this isn't a study that sits on a shelf, my mental yardstick is, will we be moving the needle on actual safety and perceived safety? I don't know how you deal with perceived safety. That's not easy, but if you can move it on visible things that do that, I think it's wonderful that the city has such potential to be a very diverse modes of transportation place. But an awful lot of people that I talk to just say, yeah, I would, but I don't feel safe. And I can't argue with that. So
that is a fundamental component of all this, and the whole premise of road concurrency is moving cars as quickly as possible from point A to point B, and the whole premise of mobility is moving people as safely as possible from point A to point B. So it is a fundamental change. It's not going to happen overnight, but
I
it
understand.
is a necessary first step to move towards a safer overall network.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second.
I'm
All in-
sorry, Madam Mayor, and who made the motion in the second? I missed it.
Maliga and May.
Thank you.
Do you have another? Real quick.
So the negotiations with the county and the interlocal agreement, is that part of this phase? So we're paying for us to do that negotiation?
It's part of phase two. And if you attach to the whole approval is how it's broken apart, and it will be phase two. We already have the money. It will be brought back to you as part of the FY26 budget to allocate the sustainable bonus trust fund money to pay for phase two of this project.
But without phase two, we don't get the county negotiation, and we're not negotiating down the impact fees potentially and things like that.
Right. But phase two is a much smaller amount of money than phase one of this.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. The motion is to approve the resolution. No, to the task order. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Moving on, we have unfinished business B, resolution 18-2025. Thank you, Mr. Paul.
Man, he was out.
He's gone. I was gonna say, he's on his way to Margaritaville. Yeah. Amending the city commission rules of procedure. As I looked at it, there's only one change, which is if we're talking about something at 11 o'clock, we can continue talking about it until the end of that, item is concluded.
Should we get a motion first?
Well, I'm just reading.
I'm so sorry.
Do I have a motion to approve? Or any
Motion to approve resolution number 18-2025, amending the city commission rules of procedure.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. The only concern I have is we have that, still that we'd have to waive the half an hour rule about workshops if we go beyond the half an hour. If we go beyond half an hour, we have to go to workshop. And so if we find ourselves in that situation, we would have to waive that rule to not have to go to workshop. Mr. Segrich?
I would like to see us protect the commissioner reports. So if we have an item that goes past 11, we finish that item and then we do our commissioner reports. Because that's one of our opportunities to bring things forth to the agenda. I also thought that we might want to reconsider that procedure about bringing things forth to the agenda and basically allow us to submit things to the city manager and have the city manager kind of compile that and have it on our pre-agenda meeting so we can just vote it yay or nay, whether it gets on the agenda. Right now, we would have to suggest the agenda item either at this meeting or at the pre-agenda workshop, and then I'll give it consensus. And to me, it just kind of slows the process. Because a lot of times when we're having our one-on-ones and things, something comes up, it's like, oh, I want to bring that. And then you lose your notes or it's a week later before you can get it there. And the first time the rest of us are hearing about it is when it comes right up there in that pre-agenda workshop or the commission meeting to get consensus. So I'd also like to see us kind of bring back a procedure whereby we could submit those to the city manager and then we basically vote on them at the pre-agenda workshop. That way we will all get to review them a little bit ahead of time, a couple days ahead of time, so that we actually know what that other person's saying. And I think that will reduce the time that we spend on that, because last pre-agenda meeting, time got very tight and I had to throw in a couple of things right at the end. And, a lot of time we might not have time to really discuss it. I think it'll give us the opportunity to look at it beforehand and say yay or nay, and it'll just go quickly. So I would like to see that change as well.
How about if we, it's an interesting idea. I have no issue with it, but what if we did tonight what we're doing and then bring that back as another idea? Because it's something to think about.
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay. Mr. McCoy?
Yeah, as I understand it, the only thing we would be amending here is when we end and how we end our meetings. And I was just kind of curious to see this one because I seem to recall hearing a lot of times from various people on the commission that nothing good happens after 10 p.m. I had kind of understood that 10 p.m. was supposed to be sort of our hard stop, but we could vote to extend it an hour, but that was a definite hard stop that we didn't go past. And I've heard a lot of comment about how previous commissions ran their meetings way too late into the evening. And it seems to me like this is opening the door to exactly that problem that we've all apparently said that we didn't think was a good idea. So I'm curious why we would do it. I'm curious to hear from my fellow commissioners two things. One, exactly what problem, when we propose new legislation or new things, ideally, it's obvious that there's a problem. We're trying to fix the problem. So I'd be interested to hear what problem are we fixing? And the other is, can one of you, because I didn't propose this, so I assume somebody else did, can you tell me or tell all of us from what list of best practices this proposal came from?
I can answer the first part because I brought it forward.
Okay.
So this came out from there was one night when we were having a meeting, and I believe you were here, where we got to 11 o'clock. We were in the middle of a discussion and the clerk just stopped the meeting, where we didn't get to finish the discussion and the mayor didn't get to adjourn the meeting with a motion. So we discussed it and we said, to alleviate that situation, we would bring forward this item, and that we said, if something was started, we would finish it. We wouldn't start anything new. And that even if it was after 11 p.m., the mayor still had the right to end the meeting, not the city clerk.
Okay. Ms. Malega?
Yes, thank you for bringing this forward. I don't think that for the people who are listening or for the people who are watching the meetings, for us just to end abruptly, it's like we lost our signal.
Right.
What happened to them? Where'd they go? And we do know that
And that's
nothing,
not her job.
well, it's not that it's not, I mean, she's following the rules and I get that we're just trying to fix it. And I hear what you're saying, Commissioner Segrich, in regards to bringing an item forward, but the reason that we did that, and I'll talk, this is like 2 years ago, is because staff was being directed by a bunch of electeds to do a bunch of stuff and we weren't getting anything done. So this was more of, we will have consensus before staff starts going down a rabbit hole. So that's kind of how it came to play, that we started the pre-agenda meeting based on that conversation. So that's how we got to where we are today. I just want to clarify, when we talk about the 30-minute workshop, it's 30 minutes of us discussing, right? Collectively.
Yes, not
collectively.
public comment.
Correct, not the presentation, not all that stuff. So we just have to make sure that Melissa, who normally does, a fantastic job of keeping the time when we start speaking, to make sure we don't run into that situation, and maybe saying, hey, you guys are 20 minutes in, you're 15 minutes in, and it's almost 11 o'clock. You need to wrap it up. So I just think that if we can ask Melissa or whoever the clerk is that day to keep an eye on us, if we get towards that and we're in a deep conversation, to align us, to keep us on track, so we don't have to workshop something, but we can extend the meeting if it's 15, 20 minutes to finish that item. I'm thankful that you brought this up, because there's a lot of people who come here and they're here for business. And for us not to be able to get to that business is, it's not us fulfilling our duty.
Well, the problem is though, if we're on an agenda item, that's not the last agenda item. And and we try to accommodate people that are here for certain, like we did tonight. So even if it was 11 o'clock, and there's more agenda items, the meeting would still stop. And I think one of the things that, brevity is the soul of discretion. And I think one of the things that we need to train ourselves is to be briefer, if we have, and I'm going to be reading and tightening things up, because if we have, let's say, the 30-minute rule, everybody gets 5 minutes. And when you're done. So I think it behooves all of us to find a way to not carry on longer than is your allotted time, and to be prepared to do that. Some of the people other elected officials that I talk to are just amazed at the amount of conversations that our city goes through. So not that that's not a good thing, but we need to be a little more judicious with our time. So that's, right. So in terms of the other thing, I mean, I think Commissioner Malega, Vice Mayor Malega kind of explained what was going on. And that took care of that problem. And yes, one more thing.
Yeah, I understand why it was done. And I'll bring it up as a separate thing, but I think for this one particular change, I really think it's important that we preserve the commissioner comments. So we finish the item we're on, and then we have our commissioner comments, and then we adjourn.
What's the consensus on that?
I think if we limit the time, like one commissioner doesn't take 25 minutes.
Right.
I mean, if we say, okay, then each commissioner gets 3 minutes for an update or comments,
or
3
bring
times
something
5 is
forward.
15. Plus you have the city attorney and
Right.
she's like, no.
She's like,
She never gives
She's
a report.
like, no, I'm not saying anything.
Unlike most attorneys, she doesn't
well,
talk a lot.
So yeah, I think that if we do a time certain, is that possible to do that?
Sure.
You mean a
That's our
time
rule.
A
limit?
time limit for each commissioner.
Right.
If it goes past 11, each commissioner gets 5 minutes to do an update.
Not even.
3
Right,
minutes.
3
Yeah.
minutes. So we want to amend your motion? Who made the motion?
I made them. No, you
Okay.
made
No,
it.
you did.
Oh, I made it. So, okay, so should we make it a number 7 or make it extend it number 6?
Well, except, yeah, I think I would extend number 6.
Okay, so let's go with,
No new items be taken about, however, commissioner comments.
actually, you know what? What if we did this? What if we said no new items should be taken up after 10:45? Then we wouldn't start anything new at 10:45.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, if we keep it like this, we could start something at 10:59
And go.
Right.
and go for half an hour. So
Yeah, and-
let's say no new items will be taken up after 10:45 PM. Each commissioner will be given
3 minutes.
3 minutes for commissioner liaison reports or whatever we call them in the
And the city
agenda.
manager and the city attorney.
And yes, each commissioner and the city manager and the city attorney will be allowed time for their reports.
3 minutes.
3 minutes.
3 minutes for their reports.
Were you the seconder, Ms.
No,
Malega?
Mr. Segrich was.
Mr. Segrich, you agree with that?
Are you
amendment?
okay with the time being 10:45?
I think the time is a little bit arbitrary, but whether it's
We've been
10:45, it's 15 minutes. So I'm okay with it.
Yeah. Okay.
And we'll
so-
see if we need to change it later, we can,
Yeah,
but
this is an
let's
easy one to
try
change.
this.
So Madam Clerk, we're amending, no new items will be taken up after 10:45.
I got it. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, and then the 3-minute,
Yep.
okay. All right, so all in favor as amended, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Nay?
Nay. Mr. McBoy says nay. Okay. Now we are on new business. A, parking license agreement with the Palm Beach Hotel property, the Four Seasons. Mr.
Motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, Mr. Brown.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Tiana, come on down. This is obviously an agreement with the Four Seasons. We have had an agreement with them before, which our last one ended in 2023. Back then, we were spending $25,000 a year. That was the actual contract. We obviously have gotten
Spending or
slightly
earning?
We're
or
getting.
getting. I'm sorry, I said it correct.
That's
It's obviously slightly more than that now. I did want to mention before we kind of get into this that when our parking manager Carlos pulled the information for the past 5 years, it was 2020, 21, 22, 23, 24. We had, I actually wrote it down.
I have the total.
Yeah, so
Cumulative
from the
total.
actual meters, we had brought in 63,670, and from Park Mobile, 38,423. So just over $102,000
In
collectively.
In 4
over
years.
5 years.
5
total.
years.
5 years.
Okay.
And now we're looking at just 4 years, 1 and 2, 85, a 3% increase in year 3, and then a 5% increase in both years 4 and 5. So this is guaranteed revenue to that fund, which we definitely need. And it's I think it's a good thing, because if you guys notice, that parking lot is often empty
Well,
during these times.
and this is 30 out of 100 spaces?
Well, we have over 100 spaces. I
Okay.
didn't have do you have the total?
I
Okay.
do. No, she's.
I'm sorry, Tiana, I was just talking.
That's okay. I was enjoying it. Yes, it's great. Tiana McKay, Director of Leisure Services. We have 129 spots.
Okay, so this is,
Some of them are designated for the fishing.
okay. Ms. Milliga?
Hi. Yannick, hi. I am, since this is parking and we are having our parking enforcement, making sure that this is going right, I would like this to be in the parking fund, not the beach fund. Our lifeguards aren't up there doing it. We're not, I don't know why we would put this in beach fund. It, to me, in my world, should be 100% parking. It's valet parking. It's all parking. So I don't know if I need to hear from Yannick or you, but I had mentioned this in my one-on-one a week and a half ago. I would really like to see this go to the parking fund because we need to hire more parking people. We have a parking plan we're working on.
Do we have a parking fund?
Yeah.
Okay. Just double checking.
For the record, Yannick Genahio with Finance. This, I believe this will be entirely up to the dais, whether you want to have it in the beach fund or at the parking fund. Yes, but yes, to your answer, we do have a parking fund.
Thank
We have about $70,000. So it's up to the policymakers.
I would like to make a motion, amend my motion to approve with the exception that this goes to parking fund instead of beach fund. And I'm sure that'll help offset the cost of signs and everything else that we have to pay for.
And perhaps new personnel.
I
Uh,
can
does the second agree?
amend my second to agree with you because I think that's a good place for it to go.
Okay,
Good.
Mr.
Uh,
McVoy?
I would be happy to support that, but I would like to hear a little bit from whoever is thinking about the beach. I imagine the logic for making it part of the beach fund was A, the beach fund needs funds, and B, but the parking fund does too, so that's kind of a wash. And that it's sort of near the beach, which is an argument, but I don't know how good an argument it is. But I would like to hear from staff, was there any particular reason to direct this to the beach, and should we be aware of that before we change that?
It's a good question.
You said it right. The beach fund has been struggling to have a balanced budget. So ideally, we were trying to
help them out.
And it's been at the beach fund for as far as I recall.
Yeah, typically it's been east of the intercoastal, like on the other side of the bridge, parking related to the beach, and obviously Old Bridge is on that side on A1A. So, but again, it can go right back into the parking. It's kind of it goes back into the parking, basically.
Mr.
So it goes
Sigrid?
to the beach fund. So.
In reading the agreement, it seems like the hotel would be responsible for kind of their own management, enforcement of that, and it doesn't seem like the city is going to incur any additional costs. Are there any additional costs that we should be aware of the city is going to incur by entering into this, or is it kind of a purely added profit at this point?
Purely added profit. There's no additional costs to the city. We are already patrolling the area. The license plates will be registered. So it's just going to be just the same as if we're patrolling the other beach parking lot.
What, if the $85,000 goes to the beach fund, what does that help the beach? What does that actually, in terms of impact on the beach or the parking?
Well, if you recall during prior years of our budget workshop, we even had to reallocate some of the PBSO contract to the general fund just to get a balanced budget. And our goal, as you know, is to always get a balanced budget. So that 85 might help with the rising, cost of living, et cetera. So that's why we.
But does it matter whether to you as the finance guy,
right,
whether it's parking or beach? Can we use the money either way?
I would prefer to have it at the beach.
At the beach.
Or just for the remainder of this year, let's have it at in the general fund at the beach until we get to the budget workshop, and then decide whether the beach fund is in need of money or not.
Well,
That seems reasonable.
hearing from our finance director,
I understand, but we have a need, and every time we say we need more parking people, I hear we don't have money for parking people. And we don't have, and we hear complaints from people in our city that parking is an issue. And if we need people to start enforcing the valet parking that we've just bitten an apple out of, we need to hire people. We can't hire people if I'm supporting the beach fund and I love our lifeguards, and we just increased the rent revenues at the beach. And we're increasing parking already at the beach. So that's going to help offset the negative. And you know, I love you, Yannick. And we hardly ever butt heads. But this to me is like me taking from the wrong pot. If it's parking and it's generated from parking and it's coming from concrete, to me, it needs to go in the parking fund. It's up to the rest of the commission, but I've said my piece.
So the extra money, could that go towards hiring someone to help us with the valet to that sort of parking issues?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
I believe so.
Mr. McVoy?
I just would say that, if it's concrete and it's parking, by that argument, all of the beach parking lot funding should go into the parking division. And I don't think any of us would support that. That it wouldn't make sense. So
Okay, so
it is on the east side of the intercoastal. It is associated with the beach stuff and, so I don't know. To me, it seems not very solid for us to say, hey, we have a parking problem downtown. Why don't we get some hotel and get them to pay for solving our parking problems downtown? To me, it makes a little bit more sense to use it for the beach. But
okay, we have a
and I
motion.
like the proposal of let's at least keep it going to the beach until we get to the budget and relook at how the beach funding is going. That to me makes sense.
Mr. Brown?
Commissioner McVoy actually just said what I was going to say. I was going to suggest maybe, as director had stated, possibly for the remainder of fiscal year FY25, just have it go into the beach fund for now. And then during the budget discussion, we'll decide where that goes, starting at FY26.
What are the dates on this?
Excuse me.
Sorry.
Are they paying, are they giving us a check for $85,000 or is it monthly? How is that working? Mr. Perry seems to want to chime in.
How about if we give you the 25,000 for the beach fund that they were originally paying and the rest goes into the parking fund? I'm negotiating here.
What are the
Some
dates
logic
of this
to that.
contract?
I believe it's upon signing, so I
Yeah.
just have to review that for you.
Basically, as soon as this
Soon as it's
is
signed.
approved, you guys approve this.
Okay,
then
so
we
it's
would
not
get
a
it back
start on the
We get a
fiscal
check for
year.
This is
$85,000
to start immediately.
Yep. As soon as we
in a lump
approve it.
sum.
I believe it was a lump sum.
Probably not.
So
Yes,
yes,
that's right.
Maybe.
Okay. So we have some more input from Mr. Perry and for,
What's going on?
I don't know, they're having a little secret conversation
Sorry.
over there.
Madam Mayor, I do have a public comment. Do you want me to read it while they're?
Give us just a second. Our finance director is about to come back.
The payments are made in monthly payments.
Monthly payment. Okay. So we could allocate the month
time.
until we have a new budget. How's that sound? We're splitting the baby.
request of the commission.
Does that sound good? So the monthly payments would go into
Yeah.
beach until, well, no, until
You
the,
get 25,000 and we get the remainder for the parking fund. The beach fund should be able to have what it's been getting this whole time. If it has built the budget off of getting that 25,000.
They already got that.
That's what I'm saying. But if that's something that we need continual, but we have got to focus on building the parking fund.
Miss May?
They are, did you or did you not already get paid from the Four Seasons for FY25?
No, that contract was canceled in 2023, so we haven't had.
So they
to
haven't
bring
been
it
paying to
back.
park there?
No.
They haven't
Have they
parking
been,
there.
they haven't been
No.
parking there?
They have been parking there. They've been paying like at the meter if they have been, but they. have
Okay,
not
they
an
haven't had an
agreement with the city.
agreement with us. Okay, so that was not part of a budget for 25. Okay, so that makes
All the
sense.
more reason to keep it going to the beach until we look holistically at the beach.
Well, I would say, I think the suggestion is to let it go to the beach until the new fiscal year.
So
Okay. Mr. Segrich?
May, June, July, August, September,
Yeah,
5
six-
months?
six- six- yeah, 5 months. And, and in the budget workshop, we will consider it. We will take it out of the beach fund and have it in the parking fund.
Starting in September
So
or
we
November.
can see how
October.
it looks,
So
how we can balance the
basically-
budget.
Okay,
That's-
Mr. Segrich?
My only
85,000.
concern is it's a 5-year term, but there's a 30-day out. And if we're getting paid monthly, it's basically a month-to-month lease. I would like to see the at least cancellation term be extended to at a minimum 90 days, but I mean, I would prefer 6 months to a year. That way they're actually committing to that revenue. Because if we budget and we say, we're getting 85,000, and 5 days from now, they say, sorry, guys, and we've just hired 2 parking officers or a parking officer based on that, the city's at risk. So I would like to see that cancellation be a longer period of time. Otherwise, might as well just call it a month lease.
I think that was more to protect us in case we needed our
Yes.
space.
Well, we can still have a cancellation and an out, but you know, if they need this parking, I would like us to protect the revenue.
90 days?
Or they pay up front.
Yeah, I like to pay up front for the year thing, and then we can,
But then if we take it away, then we have to pay it back.
which I don't really see happening, but that's okay.
Are we,
Well, math wise, just for everyone, if you take the 85,000, you divide by 12, you multiply it by the 5 months, you're gonna get 35,000 into beach fund, and then the rest of the year will be 50,000 for the parking fund, the way we discussed
this
it,
year.
if we do it that way, yes.
For this year.
But there'll be 35,000 into the beach fund.
Okay, I'm mentioning with Mr. Segrich has a good point about that. Right now, it's a 30-day cancellation on either part. I think it makes sense to make it 90 days, 3 months.
Do you want that to be reciprocal? That's often what we put in the city agreements, and you're right, Vice Mayor, it is to protect the city, that the city has an out in case things are going poorly and you don't have to wait some.
Nothing happens that fast with the city, with all due respect to our city. We kind of know what's.
do we have confidence that the hotel, I mean, the hotel has gone up from paying nothing for several years.
No, they haven't
20
used it. They haven't used it.
I thought they were using it.
No, they use the parking. They have to pay for the individual parking. They haven't had a blanket parking.
Okay, my question is just, we might want 90 days, but do we know that they'll agree to that?
Well,
My understanding is that they really need this parking for their staff.
They do.
So this is.
So they probably
they've
would.
Really been wanting this back.
Well, let's ask them then.
Well, I think
Seems
if we can approve it and then if they can reject it. Mr. Brown?
Yeah, I was gonna say, so that the 30 days, obviously they really need the parking because they, and during the discussions and, kind of going through this whole thing, there's a reason they wanted the term that it is. Given that we have a lot going on at the beach and discussions with the beach and everything, that was more for us, not really knowing what the future might hold up there. We did have that contract with Zaskovich and we're about to do some studies and stuff. So it was more for the city's sake. Just to make sure that if we do get in a situation where we're going to look at moving some stuff around, we have the ability to be a little nimble.
But I don't think we're ever going to be that nimble that 30 days is going to make that big of a difference. Yeah. So if we want to amend it to make it a 90-day.
To 90?
Do we agree, the motion maker and the seconder?
That was me. Yes.
Hard to keep track.
90-day extension, even though Yannick and I are gonna butt heads for the next.
All right, so 90-day extension reciprocal, I mean, bilateral, and then also the money goes into the beach fund until the
For 6 months
beginning.
until budget.
Until budget.
5
It's
months.
5 months. Don't pad it.
Until September 30th. Yeah.
She's pushing it. So with those amendments, do I have a vote? All in
I'm
favor?
sorry, Madam Mayor, I do have a comment.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. What's the comment?
Sam Smith, 109 North Palmway. I'm not against leasing part of the Old Bridge parking lot to the Four Seasons. However, I did not see anywhere in the backup if this parking lease is restricted to Monday through Friday, or if it also includes weekend or holiday parking. I would be against providing leased parking to the Four Seasons during the weekend holidays. We need the beach or over parking. Additionally, is the 80,000 set forth in the proposed lease the market rate for this parking plus profit? Said another way, is the city charging at least what the public would pay to park in these public parking spots? And if the answer is yes, are we charging Four Seasons more than that? If not, we should be. Whenever public assets are being leased or sold by the city, it should be for the highest rate possible. That's the only comment, but I have another comment, which is we have an amended motion. So that amended motion has to be re-amended. Unless you want to withdraw your amended motion, Vice Mayor, and change it by amending it to keeping the motion, the original motion, but adding the change, the 90-day change.
I'm gonna revoke my
Withdraw
first,
your
my
amendment.
amend it, withdraw my amended motion. Does May have to second that since she?
Yes.
Yes, I second that withdrawal.
And I will make a new motion to approve the agreement with the understanding that next fiscal year, we will have the conversation of the funds going into the parking fund. And that we will renegotiate to 90 days of.
For cancellation.
Well, is it cancellation or expiration?
Well, cancel, we're putting it in as
It's
part of the motion now. that-
Right, as I said.
Yeah. It's notice for
Yeah,
cancellation.
notice for cancellation to go to 90 days from 30.
I second the amendment, the
Of the new
amended
motion.
motion.
The new motion.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, B, resolution 17-2025, second fiscal 2025 budget amendment to amend electric utility salary schedule.
Motion to.
Motion to Mr. McBoy. Do I have a second? Do I have a second?
Second,
All in favor? Yeah.
What? We got a comment there.
Ms. McLega?
Okay, I'm gonna go on the record again, Mr. Liberty and Yannick. And everybody listening. I do not love spending money that we don't have. And even though the government says we're gonna get this money and they keep changing the rules and regulations, this is part of the GRIP grant, which I'm thankful for. I just don't know, do we have any recourse if we don't get that money that they said that we're gonna get, which was part of this grant? And Elizabeth is shaking her head. So that is my biggest concern is we have not been funded on this grant. We're going out on a limb saying that we trust the federal government. Let that sit in the air for a minute, that we're going to get funded for this. And I've already talked to Director Liberty and I understand where your point is, but I just need to go on the record for saying I'm very nervous about this because we have not been funded a penny on this grant yet.
GRIP grant.
Madam Mayor, if I may.
Please.
For the record, Ed Liberty, Electric Utility Director. First of all, I do understand your concern and appreciate it, and I think it's well placed and valid. For the benefit of the public and rest of the commission, which I know the commission is well versed on, it's already so maybe more for the public. We were awarded a $23.6 million grant from the Department of Energy for grid improvements, what they refer to as grid or GRIP grant. Topic area 2. A lot of fancy words, but it's grid improvement work. And there are 4 projects involved. A lot of the work that's involved with those projects is work that we really need to do and plan to do in the future in our electric system. So this advances it and helps us get it done much sooner and bring those benefits to the community. There are a number of people in our department who will be heavily involved with the project who are already on the city's payroll in the engineering department, operations departments, for example. So what you're being asked to fund tonight is the incremental staff that we would add to execute on the grant, which will be matched 100%. So we pay for every dollar we spend on a qualified task under the grant, the government matches us with. For the benefit of the public, what the commissioner is referring to is when we entered this grant competition, and it was in fact a competition nationwide, we were led to believe from the documents and early in the discussions that we would be given the $23.6 million up front.
Right.
Basically $23.6 million. Think of it as a home equity line. Boom, it would come into our account. Not exactly that way, but that's kind of what it would be like. And then we would draw down. Of course, we would still be held responsible for proving that we use the money appropriately. And that's a very high bar with the federal government. It's much like pursuing FEMA grant money for storm reimbursement.
Keep your receipts.
Right. Keep your receipts and lots of pictures and pictures of the calendars and everything else. So as we got closer in the negotiation period, which was finalized in October of 2024, the DOE changed and said, we're not going to give you the money up front. We're going to reimburse you. Our concern was that lag between reimbursement and expenditures, or actually expenditures and then reimbursement, is float that we have to have. That's working capital, and working capital is not cheap. It's expensive. It's never cheap for anybody. It's a little bit less for us because it's municipal debt, but it's not cheap. So the government assured us that if we submit our expenses in a timely fashion, we'll get reimbursed quickly. But the bottom line is a few things have to happen. One is the funding has to remain in place, and we've been given every assurance other than from the Oval Office that money will be there. But us together with DOE staff have met all of the requirements for information and modification of our spending to suit the preferences of the current administration. The other thing is that the recovery is, of course, subject to properly documenting the work. So a few of these positions, actually more than a few, probably 5 or 6 of these positions, are documentation intensive so that we make sure that we submit the expenses accordingly. Now, our plan is to try to submit on a monthly basis. We don't want to wait till the end of the year and submit a big match. The plan is to build up the staff so that we're routinely doing these. There'll be people toiling away, capturing these items and submitting them monthly. So the advantage of that will be if we don't get the documentation right in month 2 or 3, by month 4, we should have it correct, right? And be into a routine and keep the reimbursements going. There is no guarantee that I'm aware of that they would not stop the funding as long as we comply with the terms and conditions of the grant. And we're building the organization to do that.
And I appreciate that. I just this week, an executive order has paused federal grants and loans for clean energy projects, including those under the IRA and Infrastructure and Jobs Act. So there's nothing to say in my world that wouldn't get scooped up into that. And I don't know, Ms. Alyssa's acting like she wants to say something, but for the record, I need everyone to know that I'm just nervous because we've seen how FEMA claws back, and I just don't want us to put too much out there with anticipation of getting this money back. And if it's hiring and spending $562,000 for prorated salaries, and we pause and we wait and we submit and we don't get money back and we get denied, how long is that window that we're willing to sit there and say, okay, we've submitted and we haven't gotten reimbursed? And do we keep spending? Do we keep moving forward with the work? I just have a lot of concerns with this because of the fact that we didn't get funded and they keep pausing grants right now.
So I continue.
Please.
So that's a very good question. So of course we would be back to talk to you if there was something like that going on, right? The other part of it is that let's look at the individual projects. So there are 4 major projects. It's 60 reclosers. These are distribution devices for our distribution electric system that we would strive to install anyway. We need to go ahead with those. So that money, to the extent that we started spending it, it's actually going to be on poles in our system performing that job. Another part of it is fiber optic connectivity with our transmission substations and our distribution substations. Well, that's something we very much need to do anyway, and we're going to keep going on that and accelerate that. If we don't get the government funding, it'll deploy slower, but over time, we still need to do it. The next item would be a new advanced metering infrastructure system to replace our metering system, which has issues not with accuracy, but with communication of the information. We have to read meters manually on some of our meters. Well, we need to move forward towards getting that system replaced. And then there's battery energy storage. Battery energy storage.
Which they're pausing greatly right now.
That's one that we would not start work on right away. There's about a 5-year window in the grant to spend the money. We're about 6 months in. So that's a project that we would not be looking to do immediately. What we might start after a few months would be a study to determine exactly where on our system the battery would be and what it might cost and what the functionality would be and what size battery we should use, whether we're going to use a 2-hour, 4-hour, 6-hour, 8-hour discharge, things like that, where it would be located, what voltage it would operate, things like that. So that's a little bit further down the road. So the first 3 areas are things that we really need to do anyway. And we would start on that, but be very careful. I also point out that all of the positions that will be posted will be under new job descriptions, which will clearly state for the applicants that this is subject to the grant financing being available. The last thing we want to do, though, is be in a position where we hired somebody and then we don't have the money to continue to use them. But at the end of the day, it's $23.6 million. We believe that every assurance that we could possibly get, we've gotten. It's about as I can't help if somebody changes their mind down the road, beyond our reach. But, we've gone through all the trips and traps to get to where we are today. But I appreciate your concern. That's part of why we haven't spent any money yet.
Right. Yeah, it's a little scary right now, Mr. McFoy.
And I appreciate the commissioner's concerns and I appreciate your explanation, Director Liberty. My only question is, seems like we're a little bit between a rock and a hard place. If we do not hire these, we guaranteed won't get the grant
Right.
because that's a requirement of the grant. Am I correct in that understanding?
I'd have to reconfirm with my team that those hires are still specifically required under the grant, or they were built into the grant budget. The budget was approved. So I would look to Alyssa to give me some help with that.
Come on up. Come up to the podium.
Alyssa Clerk, City of Lake Worth Beach Compliance Manager. So I believe the question, to make sure I understood properly, was that if we don't move forward with the hires, will we be able to continue with the grant? Did I understand it?
Well,
right?
That was,
yeah.
essentially that was a condition. My recollection, and it's at least a year old, was that the grant was very specific, that you had to do this documentation and you had to hire people to do it, not just say, yeah, well, we'll document it. They actually wanted people doing it.
That is correct. But as Director Liberty said, we set aside the first year's money. We have $10.4 million set aside in our budget
Okay.
for including these hires. Additionally, to be fair to you all, we turn in those time cards every week into a system called Vipers. This is important because the government makes these systems on how quickly we expect to get the money back. ASAP is the quickest. You get your money back in 2 to 5 hours. That's only for nonprofits. We didn't qualify. We're in the Viper system, which means we would expect to get our money back when we put in a timesheet every week. We can expect to get our money back within 3 weeks. And Director Liberty and myself meet with the DOE constantly. If they found, as Mr. Liberty pointed out, we submit a time card, we submit pictures. Let's say a picture is blurry. If we needed another picture, we have someone who's going to take many pictures. The DOE would call us immediately. Director Liberty has this phenomenal relationship with them, and they would say, we understand that you all were hesitant to even move forward. I have made this abundantly clear. They would say, please submit a different picture that is more clear. And one of these positions is going to be focused on those photographs. So as long as the administration doesn't change their mind, we will continue. And the DOE has promised me over and over, because I have begged, that if anything changes, they know they can call me 10, 11 o'clock at night. They call me sometimes 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning and say, Alyssa, you're still safe. I'm already at work. They say, Alyssa, you're still safe to move forward. Let your commission know. They have gone so far as they're going to have an opening of our projects, and they're going to invite you all on a Teams meeting. I hope that helps. But we've already set aside the money, number one. And even if they were to pull the grant, we would know within a couple of days from when we submit those time cards. And they're very good about keeping us surprised. I hope that helps.
I'm adding a little bit of a cushion there, saying monthly, because by the time we get the time cards, review the documents and get it all in the system, that, answer the Q&A, but we have to get into a routine of submitting them and getting them back quickly.
Right. They want to see our timesheets. They have promised me in writing. They want to see our timesheets every day. And we're going to submit them every day with those pictures, so that at the end of the day, our project officers, one who's been with the DOE for 40 years, will be able to review them.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Segrich.
Thank you. You've answered a lot of the questions that I had on it. The one question I do have is this documentation. I know it's often a challenge of getting that documentation from the field techs back to the back office to these individuals who are experts in these systems. I've dealt with it myself. What processes do we have in place, or technology? Are they working off the same technology? Do they have tablets in the field that we can ensure that it's not sitting on someone's iPhone and then we don't get reimbursed?
Yes.
We have a storm kit where these people are going to be issued cameras. They're going to be issued 2 cameras with SIM cards at 1:30 every day. They are to report back to the office, put the SIM. I'm a project manager by training. I have a degree in both project and program management. 1:30 every day, they will report back to the office with their cameras, their SIM cards. We will upload everything. We have always redundancy in the electric utility. So every day at 1:30, they will report back and we have a team that will review those photos because preserving the city's money is my number one priority.
I think what Commissioner is referring to, and the SIM card is kind of by today's standards, a primitive way to do it, right? Ideally, we'd have live technology in the crew's hands, and they're taking the picture and it's coming right back into, through the system into a file ready for the analyst to download it and then submit the paperwork. So we're still going to rely on SIM cards off of cameras, or actually the cell phone pictures from the crews to bring the information back. But we'll have some training to do to make sure that we capture the picture in the correct context that will enable the DOE administrators to look through it and say, yep, this is exactly what we need. And that it's focused, it shows the work in the context. It's zoomed in or zoomed out enough to be able to show what we're doing.
I think one thing that would be good to track is like an internal QA of our submissions to rejections and reimbursements on it. So that we can make sure, because I know a lot can get lost in translation from the camera, the SIM card, and the cell phone, and that could be a risk for us. But if we're on top of it, it works well.
Yeah, it's process intensive, and a lot of our stuff is manual intensive. It's a lot of stuff to keep track of because we don't have a good cost tracking system, but we're building a team to do that.
The DOE expects us to follow FEMA guidelines, which means before any picture is taken, a piece of printer paper is used and you write, what are you taking a picture of and why? What is the truck number? What is the vehicle? What is the horsepower number of a vehicle? If it's a bucket truck, if it's a meter, you show someone working on it, you include a close up of the meter nomenclature, the type. So the DOE expects us to go through a lot of printer paper where you write what you're taking and why. And we've already gone through 3 test runs of this to make sure. We've had our line crews do it. We did it last year and we did it again today. We did a test run this morning.
Well done.
Okay,
Well done.
I'll sit now if that's okay.
Thank you. Sit.
I think we have a motion to approve on the table.
We
Do
have a
we?
motion to approve. And we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
And
Coming
thank you for the due diligence on it. Mhm. And thank you all for, it sounds like a lot of accountability.
Thank you very much. Okay. So establishment of a discretionary funds policy. I don't know where this came from. I don't know who brought this, city clerk.
This was brought forward by the city clerk. And Melissa, I don't know if you want to mention like where this came from and why this came about.
It came about because we don't have a policy. And in my opinion, there need to be deadlines and there should be a policy for discretionary funds.
Okay, I have, let's have a motion in a second just to get talking.
Motion to approve.
Or may I make a suggestion?
Sure.
How about if we table this and we bring back an actual policy?
Would you want?
I thought we were going to have a
Well, or if you want to
discussion.
have a discussion about it, we could just have a discussion. Instead of having a motion in a second.
Yeah,
Because
a
I
good
have
idea.
some serious issues with the fourth part of this, the cap for those up for reelection, a 50% cap on discretionary fund allocation proposed for. I don't think that's fair. I think that once you're elected, you've got if you're elected in March, the new fiscal year is September, the funds are renewed in September. For between March and September, you're sort of catching your breath and figuring things out. In the meantime, the person who did have the office, whether it's reelected or whatever, has things that they've already done. Some of us use our discretionary funds more than others. I just don't think that makes any sense. I don't know why we would do that. So that's the one thing I would object to.
Madam
Ms.
Mayor?
I think the clerk's going to cover it. Go ahead, Melissa.
So the reason I suggested that is you have 12 months and once somebody's up for reelection, they would still have 6 months of the money. They'd have half of it. If they're reelected, they'd have the rest of it. If they're not reelected, they won't have the rest of it. It just doesn't seem fair to me that, say somebody decides to spend their whole $10,000 when they're up for reelection, and somebody else is elected in March, and then they have nothing for the other 6 months.
Yeah, but
So it'd be
it's not
like a
six-
6-month split.
It's not 6 months. It's March, it's April, May, June, July, August. It's 5 months. And again, somebody's coming into a new position. I just cannot, I will not agree to that. I will not vote for that. I don't think it makes any sense. I think it's very intrusive on the workings of how we do things. A 50% cap, my personally, I don't have any problem with having a policy, but I just think that is arbitrary and I could not support it. Ms. May?
Well, in terms of the 50% cap, I disagree with the mayor. I think it is a good idea, because it takes into account that year, that fiscal year is split by 2 electeds. So yes, it is, because you get the first 6 months of one fiscal year, you get 2 full fiscal years, and you get the you get the last 6 months of one fiscal year, 1 full fiscal year, and then the half of the other one. No, 2 full fiscal years and then half of the 3rd fiscal year. So you end up with 3 fiscal years. So you end up with the that'd be nice. $10,000, $10,000, $5,000, and $5,000. So you still end up with $30,000 for your 3 years. If you do it where the person who is elected can spend it all in that 1 year, then the person who comes in is shorted. So they end up only with $25,000 instead of $30,000. And I don't think that's fair. So that's my point on that. But my other question is, I don't see any guidelines of where the supporting community projects and initiatives, and maybe I'm missing it, but I don't see anything that says within the boundaries of Lake Worth Beach. I mean, I could send something to some animal farm up in Buffalo, and there's nothing here that says I can't do that. And I think that it should be very clear that the citizens of Lake Worth Beach in some form should benefit from the donations. The other thing we need to add on here is, what are the guidelines for money that's not spent? So, so I would like to have some guidelines for the money that is not spent, meaning, can I just finish, please? Sure. So you guys can have your opinions. Just let me finish with this. Because we don't have it right there. So if it goes back into the general fund, let's say it goes back in the general fund. If it gets split amongst the other 4 commissioners, it gets split among the other 4 commissioners. There's quite an array of possibilities, and whatever we decide, we need to have it written down in here. So I don't think we can just assume it goes back. So make sure that we have that written down. That's it for right now.
I have a question for the finance director. If the money isn't used, where does it go?
As Commissioner May stated, it stays in the general fund.
Right.
At the end of the day, yes.
Which I
currently.
Yes. So unless, like, if towards the end of the fiscal year, you say you want to, give it to a nonprofit organization and we create a PO, that PO rolls into the next fiscal year. But if there's no PO, no encumbrance, it just goes into the general fund.
Okay, I agree with you completely about keeping it in Lake Worth Beach. I think that's a great idea. Mr. McCoy?
I can see some reason for having some written guidelines, but I agree with the mayor that I don't think the 50% thing is sensible part of that. I would note that the name of the fund is the discretionary fund, and the assumption is that each commissioner, and I recognize this is maybe going out on a limb, but each commissioner is not going to do anything too wild and crazy with the $10,000 that they have to use at their discretion, that it hopefully is obviously apparent that you should use it for something that benefits the community, that stays within Lake Worth, whatever. As far as transparency and accountability, all of that is public record, so that's pretty much there anyhow. Efficient use of resources. Efficiency is a fraction. What's on the bottom? What's on the top? What do I get for what I put on the bottom? I don't know. I have no idea what efficiency would mean. If somebody chooses to give some money to the band at Lake Worth High School, how do I measure? How would anybody measure? Is that efficient or not? I mean, that to me is not sensible.
Good point.
Intended purposes. Well, we don't have any statement of what the intended purposes are. The intended purpose, understood, I think, is each commissioner might have different contacts in the community, that things that they are aware of that seem like sensible things, and they benefit. There's a statement in there to benefit the community as a whole. Well, again, let's go back to supporting instruments at Lake Worth High School, which is a very reasonable thing to do. Can anybody argue that that benefits the community as a whole? Not really, but it's still a reasonable thing to do. So we supported one square at the street painting festival. Did that benefit the community as a whole? Was it a good, reasonable thing to do? Yeah, I think it was. Student trips to DC for a particular school. Well, that benefits certain students. It's clearly a good educational experience, but you can't argue that it benefits the community as a whole. So should we try to write down a few more things? Yes, or maybe simply say, it's accountable because it's all public records, and leave it to the discretion of the commissioners. To me, it seems a little bit like, if there isn't a major problem, why would one want to make it more complicated? That's my thought on it.
Yeah. And I agree with you in terms of what's efficient. And I also benefit as a whole. I think it benefit, like I do the band every year.
Yeah, and that's fine.
It benefits the community. We have kids that need stuff and that helps them. So
Exactly.
I agree with you in terms of that language.
And I would never, it's none of my business. It's a discretionary fund.
Right.
You like the band? Hey, that's totally cool. I might like a community garden. I think that's cool too.
Right. Okay, Ms. Malega?
Thank you.
What?
No, sure. Yeah. Okay. So I'm just going through the last couple of years of what I've used my discretionary funds towards. And I think it was Commissioner May said they have to be in the city of Lake Worth Beach. I support Palm Beach County Human Rights Council because I believe that their work is imperative for our community. We have the largest LGBTQ community in South Florida, in Palm Beach County, in this city. And to me, supporting Palm Beach County Human Rights Council and the hard work that they do fighting bad legislation is protecting residents in our city. So if you say that you make that rule, I can no longer support Palm Beach County Human Rights Council because their office is not here in Lake Worth Beach. Now, they work with Compass in conjunction with some stuff, but they really take on the bad legislation and the laws. And they also do scholarships for high school and college grads. They do an amazing amount of work, but their office is in West Palm Beach. So I think that if there's a direct benefit correlation to Lake Worth Beach, I think that that's different than me wanting to support the dog people or the animal people in Buffalo. Is that what you said? Because there is a direct benefit to our residents. So I want to put that out there.
And
Some things to talk about. Mr. Segridge.
So I would agree with Commissioner Malega on that. By saying it's a discretionary fund, it's discretionary. Once we start adding needs to be particular to this, we open ourselves up for challenge. I think the purpose of this fund is to be able for us to do things quickly and rapidly within the community that we feel is gonna have a benefit. I think in terms of having visibility into that, if people want to see where we are spending that, they certainly can, and they certainly should be able to see that. And the voters will hold us accountable to how we spent those monies, especially with our districts. I do like the election year cap, just because if it's, I'm starting new this year, I roughly have 50% of that fund to utilize. And in my last term, I'll have the 50%. And so throughout the course of my term, I will have had my full 3 sets of those dollars to utilize. So I don't mind that. I think that that's good. But I would keep it discretionary. I would limit the verbiage on it. And I think, this can just be a policy. The other, just question, I have is, a lot of the things that we do with this, we're donating it to a charity or we're, wrapping a dumpster or whatever, donating to the band. Does the band now have to be a vendor? And that, so I think we need
Well,
to
no,
get.
they do. I mean, there's
Okay.
there's a procedure in place. You can't just send a
Okay.
check.
So if there's already a procedure in place for that, then
Right.
I don't think we need to put that in here and just create redundancy of that and have an issue of that. So, I think that the major goals of this were to not inundate staff on the last day.
Reasonable.
And put the cap in so that the election year discrepancy, doesn't happen. So I would like to see this kind of pared down to just those 2 items, which are the heart of the matter, and get rid of all the extraneous stuff.
I still disagree with the 50% cap. I agree with Mr. McVoy about efficient, what's efficient. I don't think we can, these are not the kind of things that there's no like data that you can say this
No.
did some sort of thing. So I agree with taking that out and benefit the community as a whole. I think you're right about that. It's just benefit the community. I also do, I mean, it's, I always try to listen to different sides of what people are saying. And I think I agree with you in terms of benefit to Lake Worth Beach, but I also think that Ms. Malega has a valid point that there are people that are benefited that live in, especially in Lake Worth, that are benefited by things that like the Human Rights Council does, that sort of thing. So, how do you feel about the 50%, Mr. McVoy?
I agree with you, Madam Mayor. I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, Ms. Malega?
I'm a little indifferent because I feel like it should be like an honor system. If I'm up for reelection, I'm not gonna run and spend okay, I'm just saying, speaking for me personally. But at the same time, is it that much of a big deal that if there's only $2,000 left that there can be a fund transfer? I mean, we're talking pennies. And if somebody's doing good
Right.
with that money, I'm okay as long as they're doing good and it's benefiting the right people. It's not like they're going out and benefiting themselves. And to me, that's a win-win. If you have 2 commissioners and one person spent all their money before they lost their election or they're not up for reelection, that's another thing. If you're not up for reelection and you're termed out, do you get the full years or do you only get that prorated? That's another thing because we have term limits now. So it's not everybody up for reelection. But I think as long as you're doing good, again, it's discretionary. We've been elected to sit up here and make decisions on $160 million budgets. I don't think that people are really going to question the $10,000 that you may spend before your election's up to do good and be impactful.
Because when the new person comes in, they'll get their $10,000.
Right. And I'm saying if Yannick has to do a budget amendment to move money from general fund, I mean, I don't think it's a bad thing because at the end of the day, we're doing good with the funds. We're helping. I'm not going to be mad if let's say Commissioner McVoy went and spent $10,000 to help the Playhouse put in new seats and he lost his election. Now somebody else gets $10,000. Great. The Playhouse got new seats. Like that's how I look at it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that's too restrictive. So, we'll have to vote on that at some point when it comes back. Ms. May.
Thank you. I just think that if you look at the math that in the fairness of it, I just think it makes sense. If you get the 5,000 for the half of a year, 10,000, 10,000, 5,000, it just makes sense mathematically.
She is a math.
Well, I understand that, but I'm going to stand pretty firm on that 50%. Because I think, Commissioner Stokes was very, very, very good to me because she really didn't spend any of her money. And for that, I am grateful. However, she could have, and that then if I'm up for a and I only spend I should only spend up to $5,000. If I don't win, somebody else should be able to have that money when they come in. When they come into the position. That's my opinion. We don't have to agree. I do think that we should All right, I am torn because I understand what you're saying about the Human Rights Council. I do, but I also think we need to differentiate between what's good work and what's good work that directly benefits Lake Worth Beach. Because I personally can donate, and I have, to HRC, Human Rights Council.
Personally, but you could-
Personally, I choose to do that. But when it comes to, if I wanted to help the LGBTQ population in Lake Worth Beach, I would donate directly to Compass. That's just something to chew on. I don't know, but then if you have, for example, if I wanted to donate to the Hub, and they're a Palm Beach County organization, although they have a Lake Worth Beach facility, I don't even know if you could donate to just one facility or you'd have to donate to the whole thing. So I'm kind of arguing against my statement. I'm just saying that there's things that we do need to consider, but with all due respect to this idea that everybody's going to do good, I'd love to think that, but that's not always the case. And I think that it is important that we spell these things out. It doesn't have to be spelled out to the penny, but I think it is important that we put a policy in place.
The
Mr.
hitch.
McCoy, Mr. McCoy.
Thank you. The hitch is the definition of doing good is going to vary from person to person. You feel that HRC does good, that some of it filters down to Lake Worth. I could argue that giving it to the ACLU does the same thing, benefits people in our community. It never occurred to me to give it because, I'll do that out of my pocket, but I wouldn't do it out of discretion. But I respect your choice and I respect other people's choice. I figure, I think it's too much micromanaging. I would say, and is somebody going to come up with something that somebody else doesn't, well, I don't like gardens. So, well, I don't like band. They make a lot of noise. I don't think that's a path that we want to go down.
Yeah.
I don't think it makes
agree.
sense.
Mr. Segridge.
Beer money, no, that's a different deal.
If we make this policy, we're gonna have to put together a whole ordinance, do the reading and all of that
Resolution. Not an ordinance.
resolution. So
Not
No.
even.
staff gonna come back and we're gonna vote.
Not even a policy, just a policy.
Yeah.
It's just a policy.
Yeah.
This was actually to address some issues that have come up. So I hear what you've all said, and I think something could be brought back that you would all agree to.
Well, we're gonna have a hard one on that 50%.
I think so. I
Uh,
think the one that you'll get agreement is don't show up the last day. That's just annoying.
Yeah, I think the time limit is fine. I have no problem with that. When I'm elected, listen, when you're elected, as we all know, as you're experiencing right now, Mr. Segridge, there's a lot to learn before, you got plenty of time to spend the money. So, okay, so we have I would suggest that a little direction. Is your light still on? Okay. How about if we all just submit to the city manager a draft? Want to do that? A draft of a policy. What do we think?
Which might be very short and
Yeah,
yeah.
all right, or take this and would you like back on, Mr. Segridge?
Yeah, it seems like we all agree on one aspect of this that will solve it. So I would just like to make a motion that we make a policy. What's that? Well,
We're not making with this.
couldn't we set the policy right now?
Right.
Okay.
Welcome to our world. Okay, Mr. Brown? No, he turned his light off. Okay, so I think, there are certain things that I think we agree on. I think we agree on the time frame of, August 30th. Certainly, and purpose of the funds, it is discretionary. It's $10,000. It can be used for various purposes such as supporting community projects, initiatives. The vendor, they have to be registered, Mr. Segridge. They have to have a PO number and register with the city. And they have to be it's a nonprofit. We don't give it to people that. I don't have an Uncle Joe. I wouldn't give it to him if I did have an Uncle Joe. Uncle Buck. So I think the one that we are not in agreement with is the 50% cap. So, let's bring it back, and frankly, I mean, thank you, Madam Clerk, for doing this, but I think
not
it's
sure.
a little I think that's a little intrusive on what we're able to do.
And we are very lucky that we have a discretionary funds. I have had this conversation with many people in legislative
Right.
and no other cities.
Right.
I think there are two that I've had say, yes, we get some kind of discretionary fund, but we're very thankful, I guess, that the previous commission voted on
Yeah.
this, set it up, because it does allow us to do good without having to go through all these channels and, and to be impactful and to make a difference in the community.
Yeah, I don't know. I agree with Mr. McVoy that let's not micromanage this. We have a public comment from Peggy Fisher.
Oh, and I also have a public comment.
Okay.
Peggy Fisher, North A Street. I agree with the 50% proposed by Commissioner May. It is equal. It makes it, everybody gets the same amount of money. One of the places you all donate to is the Education Foundation of Palm Beach County, which is headquartered in Boynton Beach. I know it's noted for schools, but that's where their office is. I think that there should be, under the commission on the website, there should be a tab showing where, when you spend your funds, where it goes. I think having the public have to go through public records request to obtain that information is onerous on them. And I would say that if you ask how many people really do that, you'd find very few. And I think it's part of you all being transparent to the people that represent and whose taxpayer money you are using to make these donations to things that you think are good for the city, so that your constituents can see what you're doing. And I would say most people have no idea how Commissioner Malega or Vice Mayor Malega spent her money, or Commissioner McVoy spent his. I know because I did a public records request and I've shared it with people who have asked me if I know. But I think there should be on your website just a listing of what organization it is and how much you gave. Because that way you're being open and transparent to the public.
No problem. I have no problem with
I
that.
no problem with that. Melissa, add that.
The only clarification might be that, for instance, the reason we give to the education fund is that there is no mechanism to give to the school.
Understand that.
So
If you're going to address Commissioner.
As long
Vice
as
Mayor Malega's wanting to give to the Human Rights Council, which is not headquartered in Lake Worth, the same thing applies to donations that go through the Education Foundation to the schools, because they are not in Lake Worth. So it may just be they have to be a registered vendor with Lake Worth Beach, and that way it solves that. But I think, I don't think it's bad to say,
can't do it.
we're giving you $50,000 of taxpayer money to do whatever you want to do with. And you'll just have a discussion up here about $50,000 of money, whether it should go into the parking fund or the beach fund. Well, if that's important, then the $50,000 that you all get to do whatever you want to with is important.
Thank you. That's time.
Thank you. You have a public comment up there?
Yes, I have one comment. Sam
Hold on.
Smith.
Hold on. We have another public comment. Anthony Zeitler.
I know.
Yep.
Anthony Zeitlin, 117 Southeast, 18th Avenue South. The word that kind of sticks out to me is discretionary. It seems like you guys were elected because of your discretion, your decision-making capabilities. It seems like kind of leaving it, I wouldn't say completely open-ended, but having it public, what you guys end up using the money for makes sense. But at the end of the day, you guys should be able to kind of put that money where you guys see it best used. So it doesn't seem like having a lot of, red tape around this particular amount of money makes a lot of sense. The 50%, does that, I know you guys don't need to answer or won't answer, but does it matter in the big scheme of things, whether or not that 50%, because it sounds like you know, if you're up for reelection, you're gonna get it at either the front end or at the back end in one way or another. Unless somebody's like, I guess, trying to game the system, which again, the public records would kind of expose that. And it seems like that would be an easy way to create bad will by just using it willy-nilly. So it seems like it's kind of a self-correcting problem. And being, if the general budget is 160 million, it seems like $50,000 is not really a big deal, to be honest, in this situation. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk?
Sam Smith, 109 North Palmway. Maybe I read the backup too quickly, but I did not understand the cap on discretionary funds for commissioners who are up for reelection. The language appears incomplete and vague. When would the cap go into effect? Would it be when an elected official files for reelection? And what happens if they retain their seat? Do they get the other 50% back? Additionally, it is a pet peeve when elected officials of the city talk about their donations, or I'm going to donate 1,000 of my funds, etc. Discretionary funds are taxpayer funds, and elected officials should be careful in their language. It is not their money or their donation. It is the city money that was collected from hardworking taxpayers. That's the only comment.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm just going to put one more plug in for not the 50. I mean, when you're elected on September of that day, of that year, you get $10,000. So, I mean, whoever, the new person gets $10,000 in September. They've got 3 years to, every year they get the $10,000. So I just think that's really micromanaging, an unnecessary thing. Mr. Brown?
Hello. So we've heard a lot from all of you on this topic. When we bring this back, and I know someone had mentioned possibly you guys submitting a draft to me, but it might be easier if we just kind of take everything we've heard tonight, we put it in draft format. That'll obviously come to you guys prior to it being on the next agenda, but that way we're bringing an actual draft back that we can actually look at based on the comments we heard tonight. And then kind of modify that if we need to on the fly at the meeting.
Sure.
And move forward.
Yeah, I
with
mean,
that.
basically,
So,
it's fine. I think the only thing that I think putting it on the public is not a bad idea. And the only thing that we have a bit of a discussion about is the 50%.
Yeah.
So.
okay, no problem.
All right. Thank you very much. Moving right along. All right, what's up next? An agreement with Anthony Brunson, PA, for annual independent financial.
Motion to
auditing.
approve.
Motion to
Second.
approve by Commissioner
McVoy.
McVoy, second by Vice Mayor Malega. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Up next is, we did that already. Now we go to F. Purchase order with the Nextran Truck Centers for a new way rear load truck for the solid waste division. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Trucks for them.
By Commissioner McVoy. Do I have a second?
Second, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Second.
By Mr. Segrich. All in favor?
Aye.
Finally, G, work order with the paving lady and work order 2 with M&M Asphalt DVA All County Paving. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All by Commissioner McVoy. Do I have, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
And can I just do a very short comment? I've seen a number of paving things happen around the city recently, and I'm very happy to see them.
Thank you. We have some hardworking staff. We're knocking out all
Yeah,
the ADA
seems-
ramps and lots of sidewalks that are broken, that are missing. So we're
Seems
We're
I'm
working.
noticing it.
There was a,
got
I
a
found
new
a
one
question.
today.
Like, do we have a plan for the sidewalks? I mean, do we have an actual plan for the sidewalks?
we do.
We do.
Yeah, we do. So we actually have an infrastructure master plan.
Okay.
We're gonna have some conversation during the budget, upcoming budget,
Of course.
about funding.
Funding, the
Um,
evil F word.
You
Miss,
mentioned sidewalks. I
That's-
know that for some reason, Mr. Brown doesn't like them, but I was somewhere or other recently, and I can't remember where it was. And it made me think of it again, that some places grind, when the sidewalk starts tipping around
Yes.
and they'll grind them rather than tearing it all up and starting over. Obviously, if you have the money, and tear it up and start over, but we don't always. It seemed like the idea of grinding them reduce our liability for trip hazard. And I mean, you know about it. It's not my area, but
Yeah.
it does seem like not a crazy thing to do. And it seems like it's preventative. And if we fall and win the lottery, then we'll go back and repave it.
We did years ago. We actually had a demo and we borrowed a piece of equipment that did a lot of the grinding. What we found though, we don't have a lot of areas where you have that elevation difference from one flag to another, where that flag is in perfect condition that's elevated.
Perfect condition?
Yes.
Yeah,
Most
not
of the
too
time when
many.
that's happening, it's the whole flag needs to be redone because it's completely cracked and or missing. So we have to replace that whole flag. We just don't have a lot of areas where the flag there's nothing wrong with it, and the only difference is the elevation.
What's a flag?
I've-
Like the box?
I'm sorry. A flag of sidewalk is just a 5x5 section. So yeah, I'm sorry.
That's technical, a technical.
I think I've seen a number of them. I've even seen a number of them downtown, but I'll keep an eye out. Obviously, I agree that if there's cracks throughout it, well, give
It's-
up. But if
for the most
if it's
part,
just,
when we have those situations, it's the entire thing needs to be replaced. And also when we were doing some of that grinding and trying it out for the few weeks we had it,
it's pretty dusty.
it's very dusty, especially right in front of someone's home. And also it's not the most aesthetically pleasing thing. And then when we looked at the actual cost of the equipment itself, we kind of were balancing some things out, and it didn't make sense back then.
Okay.
Okay. So now we're up to liaison reports and comments. Let's start with District 2 today.
That's me.
Mhm.
You caught me off guard there. Was happy to go on the victim rights walk that I think we all went on, organized by newly elected state attorney Alexia Cox. Good attendance for that and good cause. And the woman who very bravely volunteered to speak was a really good reminder of why we need this. I do interact with a number of nonprofits. One of them is the Interactive Community Alliance. I have no idea where they get the name because it's not doesn't enlighten me very much, but they do safety in the workplace. They tend to be oriented toward the Spanish-speaking community. They, I believe, are county-wide. They might be a little bigger than that. They organized a very good seminar, I want to say maybe October of last year. They're apparently doing another one down in Miami this year. They work with the church at the Lutheran church near the Circle, Our Savior, and use some of their rooms to do classes. They are looking for more room. The classes are free. They do things with electrical. They do things with teaching people forklift stuff, project management, a couple of things. They seem pretty cool. I've interacted with them for a minute, and I've put them in touch with some other organizations. Another one that I met with recently was Family Promise of Southeast Florida. I didn't know anything about them before. They do, I think they call it situationally homeless families. They're focused on families. That is certainly a need in our community. They are, I guess there's been some sort of change. They've been around a while. The geographic range changed a little bit. They probably could do with any help that we can give them. And I think they seem pretty reasonable. Was happy to help out with a metamorphosis garden at Highland Elementary. Big kudos to Carolyn Deely, one of our long-term residents who has worked with gardens at Highland Elementary for a long time, both vegetable and other. This is sort of an small outdoor area where kids can just chill out a little bit. Teachers can chill out a little bit. Jennifer Schwerin from the Palm Beach County Schools that does the English as Second Language also, and a bunch of volunteers from that English as Second Language program volunteered to help make, and it's nice. And lastly, I noticed an interesting article that I really struck my attention out South Florida magazine the mayor is familiar with. There was an article there by somebody who I don't know at all, Sabrina Hockey, a federal trial attorney who claims, at least, and I assume she's accurate, that in 30 years she's never lost a jury trial or even a summary judgment. Sounds pretty impressive.
I have a comment about that.
All right. Yeah, you maybe know her. I don't know. She's federal trial attorney, and she put an article in there referring to a hearing about deportation of Venezuelan immigrants to a very nasty El Salvador prison. She wrote, and I quote, "Democracy cannot exist without the rule of law." And there were a bunch of other things that I've cut out, but we are dangerously close to the tipping point, and every single American needs to be on alert. I thought that was a wise counsel. Of course I read it. I read most of it. Yeah. I always learn stuff at the Pride Festival. I put together some of the people from I knew about the smoke alarms because I talked with Jay Silpa, who works on our education force. He also is very active with the Red Cross. And I put them together with some of these organizations to try to help them out with space. So, yeah, thank you.
I just have to comment about that 100%. One picks one's trials.
Judiciously?
Judiciously. I'll win this case and I'll take it to trial.
Yeah.
You
know
got
about this
you
stuff.
got to win some. It's not about a batting average. District 3.
Thank you. So I'm having my days mixed up, but what day was it that we went to the Hispanic Leaders Luncheon?
That was last week.
Thank you. Last Thursday, the mayor and I went to the Hispanic Leaders Luncheon, and I know she shared a little bit about it on the pre-agenda meeting, but there were a couple things, and one that I'm going to pass on to Aaron Allen at the next business advisory meeting, if you could remind me. The sheriffs have a business partnership program, and that is for any businesses that actually have storefront businesses where they would partner with them and they would give them the trespassing signs with the correct ordinances listed so that they can enforce trespassing issues on private property. So there's that for the businesses. There's also a program, and we talked a lot about it with the different churches. We met a lot of the pastors of many of the different churches here in Lake Worth Beach, and we also met with a woman, Lydia. Oh God, I have her last name. It's just not coming to me right now. Anyway, she works with them, and one of the best ways, I believe, to communicate with the Spanish community is through the churches. So we're gonna have the sheriff's office has a program that they do through churches. So we're going to get that going to make sure that everybody understands and feels safe. The whole idea of the luncheon was a Sheriff Rick Bradshaw was either going to go to all of the community leaders, and then he said that's kind of not very productive. Let's invite them all to the luncheon. Could have been in Spanish. That might have been helpful, or at least a translator, because I know there are a lot that people who sat by us that really didn't understand. But he just wanted to get out the word, regarding that there's not mass deportation. And he said that, one of the things that they talked about was human trafficking and the protection of the victims, and that they do not get deported and that they are protected, and they do everything that they can to make sure that the victims are not victimized any further by the law enforcement. I just have one quick question from a resident, and I'm going to put you on spot. So the Lake and Lucerne paving project by DOT, we got the email that said they are done. Does that mean they have tackled all of their punch list items? Nobody downtown can expect to see them doing any more work?
That is typically what that means. Our project manager is currently still working with them, though. They said they were done a few weeks ago.
We disagree.
But we kind of disagreed on some of those locations.
Okay, so there could still be work, and if there were people who had specific complaints about specific things downtown and they contacted me, I can still get that to you.
Yeah,
or
do
they could.
you have them? The complaints?
I will get them tomorrow morning.
Okay, yeah, if you can get those to me or have them, just reach out directly.
Okay.
And we'll take a look and
I
see
will
what
have
that is.
my informant call you in the morning.
Your informant?
Yes, my downtown informant. Let's see. The other thing is I did want to comment on one of the comments at the beginning of the meeting was regarding personal safety downtown. We did address that. I talked to Captain Carn myself. He said that he is going to be directing deputies on all shifts to just walk downtown, and they have to be visible. And so if you are downtown and you're not seeing, this is for all anyone listening out there, and you're not seeing police presence, please email me or call me so that we can make sure, because we're not all down there all day long. So we want to make sure that people are feeling safe in our downtown. So please let me know. That feedback is invaluable. And the last thing is that I met with the hub and became their kind of liaison to the city. So one of the things that I can bring forward today, though, is that they are looking for donations for feminine products. So or clothing for homeless people. So and people that are trying to get back on their feet. The point of the hub, it's a recovery resource. It's not a treatment center. It's not a detox. It's for people who are in recovery, early recovery generally, help them get back into society. It's about resume writing. It's about coaching, life coaching. It's non-denominational. It doesn't have anything to do with any specific recovery program. They have general recovery meetings every day. It doesn't matter what you're recovering from. So it really is trying to create some community for those who are newly in recovery. And I, as somebody who's been in recovery for a long time, at the beginning, it feels very lonely and you feel like everybody's out there doing what you can't do. So it's very important. And if anybody has any questions, they're welcome to reach out to me or directly to the hub. They're there all day long, and they really want to start doing more evening community events in order to have sober fun. So lots of cool stuff going on there. So that's what I have this week. Thanks.
Thank you. District 4.
Thank you. I wanted to first thank staff. I've been spending a lot of time, and thanks you, Jamie, for setting up those meetings. Coming into this new, it's important to meet with everybody, and like you all said, drinking from a fire hose. But we've been making good progress. I've been learning a lot throughout the city, and I really do want to extend my thanks to everyone who's been spending that time, because it does take a good amount of time out of their day, and they've been very generous with their time. I did want to bring up something that I think should be a high priority to get on our agenda. The vendor who won the RFP for the casino complex for the catering fell through. And I'd like us to consider as a commission, perhaps moving away from the franchise model for those buildings and just going to more of a straight commercial lease model. I think we can probably get a highest and best use out of there and get revenue a lot quicker than if we were doing a franchise model that we currently explored. So I would like consensus to get this on an agenda.
Yeah, you've
Events,
lost me.
an events company.
We've not been renting it out. Could we have the clarification, Mr. Brown?
What did you say about caterer?
Catering.
The casino complex, the events company.
Yeah, so the RP that went out was for basically a company, an event company, to come and take over what staff had been doing before as far as weddings and different. No, the staff is not doing that anymore. We put that out, and what we had selected someone to put in for the actual, that just fell through last week. They finally notified us they're not going to be able to actually do that, what was in the RFP. So
Shouldn't we wait until we have Zukovich's?
Yeah, I thought
That doesn't make any sense to me.
it
that we
seems a
would-
little contra. Now, I have a, if you don't mind, I have a problem with the fact that we're not getting any income from that at this point. But I also thought that we were going to wait. Well, I'm just brought it up.
that was the whole point, that in the meantime, while this was all going on with Zukovich and everything, we could at least have revenue coming in, and we could then open up. Remember, we had put a halt on.
I never understood why we did that in the first place.
Yeah, we had
but-
put a halt on weddings or any events happening up there until someone got on board. So that fell through. What Commissioner Segwich was mentioning was possibly not looking at the franchise model, which would be basically hiring a company that would say, okay, this is one of the multiple venues I have in my portfolio. So if you come to me and say, I have an event I want to put on, I'm like, well, I can offer you the Lake Worth Beach Casino building. I also have a venue like in a golf course somewhere. So you can pick and choose that way. We also, they have their own caterers on staff. So it takes staff out of that picture. We no longer have a staff working till 1 or 2 in the morning anymore with weddings and everything. You now have another company doing that. We just sit back and collect like a franchise fee every quarter for basically them having the opportunity to use our facility. Moving from that to, I guess you could do whatever you want in that space. Is that going to be a restaurant? Is that going to be something else?
So you're
Other
looking for
than-
consensus just to bring it back and have a conversation.
And have a conversation.
Okay.
Because I know the Gulfstream, I spoke with the manager of the Gulfstream. He's very interested in getting his finger in that casino. So they can start having events. They'd like to use it. So we'll talk about it. We'll have an agenda item. So do you want to just have an agenda item?
Okay.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And
oh,
then
okay, go ahead.
One of the concerns that's been coming up a lot, and we discussed it in our pre-agenda meeting, and I think we're going to get an agenda item on it, is realigning some of PBSO's policies with the needs of the community, regardless of some of the stuff going on at Bryant Park and some of the easements. So I was at the South Palm Park neighborhood meeting, and it came up again. There's probably about 15 or 20 residents came up with stories and things that happened immediately. And one of them was that they just removed 10 individuals from one of those easements.
The 13th Avenue South?
Yes. And they did that right after they just removed from Bryant Park. And it just seems it's a game of whack-a-mole and moving around. So they were happy to hear that we're going to be bringing that up, and that Captain Carn's been receptive to that. Other than that, just continuing to learn and getting into the swing of things here. Got a full schedule the next couple of weeks with staff, but available to.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be so optimistic. There's more to it than meets the eye, and you don't realize that until you get up here.
It's a part-time job, trust me.
Yeah, right. District 1?
Thank you. I'll try not to be the Grim Reaper. So I'll talk about the fun stuff first. Thank you all for coming out to the Victims Crime Walk. That was near and dear to my heart. So I'm thankful that Alessia Cox chose Lake Worth Beach. I'm hoping that she will continue to do so. I had the honor of going to the Forum Club lunch 2 weeks ago with Brent Whitfield had invited me to go, and it was a great speaker. It was informative. I was honored to do that. And that same night, I had to drive to Boca. Habitat had their president's event. So they had the president of Habitat for Humanity, the entire nation president, come into Boca. They did a golf outing with some NFL players. I had no idea who any of them were, but it was a fundraiser to help build and support more money for projects for Habitat. Of course, and if you have land, we'll take land. I was not at the Hispanic luncheon that you guys went to because that Thursday, I spend 5 hours at Arms of Hope in the community with the door wide open. So if anybody wants to come in and talk, ask questions, I teach them how to use the website, whatever. And we actually did a podcast because they have it set up there. So that was fun. It was informative. It's open to anybody who wants to come, an elected who wants to come talk. You can speak Spanish. You can talk about whatever you want, including staff, which is kind of cool. They're really trying to bring City Hall to the residents. And I talked about how, we've been doing the district meetings and trying to move around. We need to get that back on the agenda and back on the calendar, because it was all about how do we get more community and government buy-in basically from the residents. So it was a great conversation. Last week, I also had a Zoom with Joan from the CRA. The director of the CRA from Riviera Beach, the director of the CRA from Delray, the Delray mayor, Joe from from Lake Clark Shores, myself, Representative Deborah Tendrich, and Representative Gia Lombardo, who is the one who wrote the CRA bill. And I was very impressed that Deborah Tendrich was able to get us a 20-minute time slot of him sitting in his office listening. And we actually had really good conversation. He brought forward some amendments. It's still going to be the CRA bill. He's not going to let it go. The biggest constraint right now is whatever's in the hopper is going to be in the hopper and you're not getting anything else. So that's the hard sell. So if they have property, if they're in the middle of doing grants or bonds or Madison Terrace, projects have to be completed by a certain date. They're negotiating that date right now. So he was open. He said, let's meet again in a week or two. Let's see how we can continue to craft this. He was very thankful. He read over all of our data. He's like, you guys are doing it the right way. I get it. He goes, and we all agreed, we don't need parades. We shouldn't be doing concerts. We agreed that there should be guidelines, but don't punish those who are creating more affordable housing than any other city in Palm Beach County when you need housing. It doesn't make sense. So he got it. And I was very appreciative, sent him a thank you card and sent Deborah a thank you card as well. For a freshman, that was pretty impressive.
Yeah, she does.
I have to tell you, I was really impressed. I was like, is he really going to show up? We're all on the Zoom and here he comes flying into his office. So with that being said, we have the legislative call on Mondays from 9 to 10. The sovereign immunity bill is definitely going to pass 500,000 and 1 million. And I brought this up to Jamie and staff last week.
Explain the 500.
So 501 million. So if you,
Oh, for-
500 per
if you get,
person.
500,000 per person, $1 million per incident. So if you get sued as a city, those are now going to be the limits. I brought this up to Jamie and Troy last week because this needs to be part of our budget conversation. Are we going to go out to get insurance? Are we going to self-insure? What does that look like? Because this takes effect September or as soon as he signs it into office, into order. Do you know when that is, Elizabeth? Is it going to be June or is it going to be September?
I don't know.
Okay.
It varies by
the bill.
by bill. So
The other one that they approved today, all the good news. And this is all financially going to affect us. But this is not going to be more financial. This is a housing bill that is a certified recovery residence bill that is now going to be allowing certified recovery residences in all districts zone multifamily residential, up to 2 residents per bedroom, up to 500 residents total. So
Total in the city?
total in the building.
Building.
So Jamie said, where do you think this is coming from? A lot of people talking in Tallahassee think it's coming from, they think there's going to be a condo crisis. And these condos, because of the affordability, are going to come on the market. So predicting that they will become sober living homes, this is kind of helping carve that out for them. So this again is taking another tool away. And if you live in a multifamily, and we are not going to have this literally passed again, it's final reading today. So there's some really bad stuff that we had to be prepared for in the next coming weeks that is going to keep, it's going to put a lot of constraints on us. And then not even talking about the live local bill. We're going to leave that one alone. So, but on good news, did you guys read the FMPA annual report? Front to back? Well, you should, because there's a whole page on Lake Worth Beach and how amazing our electric utility is and how we've improved and the money that we spent on increasing our tide lines and increasing our dependability. And it was really cool to see Lake Worth Beach out of all the municipalities getting the kudos that it deserves. And of course, we know the person who's in charge of the FMPA, but it's good reading. If you guys haven't read it, please take your time to read it. And I sent Ed a personal message and thanked him for all his hard work.
So it sounds like he still wants to get rid of the CRAs though.
And 90% of it's going to be coming to us, and they're going to be getting rid of the volunteer boards.
The CRA volunteer board?
Correct. He's a hard no on the CRA needs to be elected officials. It should not be a advisory or a volunteer board. So
Well, we can live with
that's a
that.
hard negotiation for him.
Unfortunate, but what are you going to do? Okay, the victim walk was good. As a former victim advocate, I was glad to see the turnout. The Hispanic leaders was quite a few hundred people there, and it was pretty funny when the sheriff gave a very long and really good speech in English. But the people we were sitting with had no idea what he was talking about. I wish he would have had an interpreter. But one of the things that he said was that in terms of the ICE, some municipalities and law enforcement are now getting certified to be ICE agents. We're not doing that. He said, we're not. He has a very strong policy. We are not going to cooperate with ICE. They're not, if they need help, if they're in trouble, we'll go and help them. But
That's
we are not.
interesting because he said the opposite of that when he met with the, he,
Was at that same meeting. He didn't say that.
yeah, no, they've already certified officers and he said it very clearly when he met with, Hispanic vote.
Well, I
None of
mean,
us
that's
were up there.
interesting because I heard something different, so we'll have to find that out. So there was there's a public meeting coming up on WMOTA. When is that date? The 28th?
28th from 6 to 8 at the casino.
Is that going to be
ballroom.
live streamed?
That I do not know because it's not an actual city meeting. It's
Right.
put on by.
We've done it before, but.
Yeah, I'm not. I'll have to double check that,
Okay.
but I just want to make it's not a city meeting though. We're not
Right.
sponsoring that. So.
It's being done by WMOTA, and public input will be available at that point.
Yeah, it's 68 at the ballroom.
Right.
That day.
Right. Okay. Sadly, we had a drowning at the beach this week with rip currents. All the more reason we need to get a pool in this town to teach kids how to swim and to fight those kinds of things. It was the 2 children that did not pass, I think I don't know if they're still, I haven't heard if they're still in the hospital or what shape they're in. It was a terrible thing. April 25th at 6 o'clock, the Lake Worth High School Band is giving their spring concert. Sadly, not many people go to these, and these kids work so hard to get it. So I'd like to, as many people as we can, maybe have dinner beforehand and then, go to the concert, but it's really good.
What's it?
The 25th at
Okay.
6, at 6 o'clock at the high school.
That's a Friday, correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. We're in the middle now of having the annex evaluated and brought up to whatever we can do to fix it. And I want to have a conversation sooner rather than later about the use of the annex. We have in Lake Worth, the Lake Worth Art League, which started in 1942. The only reason we have the meeting room for the library was built for the Art League. At some point, it came that they weren't there anymore, and now they are facing a terrible, where they've been renting a place on Lucerne Avenue, and it's up to $2,500 a month now, and they're really struggling. So I would like to I think there are 2 things that we should, my personal opinion, the use of the annex, and I've been sure that we're not going to be using it for, the electric utilities sort of thing. I would like to see that that we guarantee that, number 1, the museum stays on the 2nd floor of the annex, and that we have a place for the Art League dedicated to them. I've asked Diane Hutchinson, who's the head of the Art League, to come in and give us a 10-minute presentation. People don't even know that they exist or who they are, or what they do. And it's one of the longest serving groups, volunteer groups. And we are the arts, we pride ourselves on art. And I think we should support them with giving them a space. They are struggling terribly right now in terms of that. But they knew that if they knew that they had a place to come to when the annex is open again, they would be able to sort of work, have some hope in the future. And especially since that building was supposed to be for them. I don't know what happened to them that they got kicked out. I think that's all, but I would like to have a maybe put it on for discussion just at some point, or at one-on-ones, to talk about the annex so that we have some idea about what we're going to be using it for. And I don't know, and at some point, it'd be nice to know what the time frame is for when that building will actually be useful again. So that's pretty much all I have. I just spent a weekend in New York City and went to the Metropolitan Museum of Art. I posted on Facebook. The decorative art section of the Met is quite extensive and quite beautiful. And I think that is something that we can consider for the WMOTA, which is the same thing as the WMOTA. Other than that, I can't really think of anything. Mr. Brown, you're up.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. 2 of the things you had mentioned, first and foremost, we do have 2 special meetings set up for May 15th and May 29th. I'm not sure which one yet, but the annex was going to be added to one of those. You just mentioned the annex. We are in receipt of that study, as well as the engineer's estimate of probable costs. So we do want to have that conversation with everyone. It is not a small amount of money, but obviously we do need to have a conversation as far as what's your vision for the future use of the annex. I don't know if we really foresee customer service going back in that building. Probably want to have more of a public use for that space, but we'll have that conversation. So that will be added to one of those meetings. We just need to look and see which one. Also, Madam Mayor, you mentioned the unfortunate events that transpired on Saturday with the three kids. I did want to mention, because the news kept on stating that it happened on our beach. It did not happen on our beach. It was south of our beach in South Palm. Three of our lifeguards, though, Doug, RJ, and Gary, did respond, obviously. And as you mentioned, unfortunately, one did not make it. I did want to commend them.
They did a wonderful job.
Yes, it was quite the scene, and it just did not end favorably. So they obviously shaken up, but this is what they do. Very professional, and I just wanted to give a huge thank you to them and what they do. So I also wanted to talk about Business Advisory Board. That meeting was originally scheduled for this Thursday. They do not have a quorum this week. So we are pushing that to May 22nd, which is a Thursday. It's normally the third Thursday every other month. We are going to push that. That's actually the fourth Thursday in May, that we have 5 Thursdays in May, because the previous Thursday, the 15th, is one of our special meetings. So that'll be pushed out on our calendar and social media and everything as well, so everyone's aware. But again, that's May 22nd at Irish Brigade. It'll be 6:30 to 8:30.
6:30 to 8:30?
6:30 to 8:30, correct. May, Veg Amnesty, which we do every May, leading into that season we're not a fan of. But that will be every day that your veg pickup typically is throughout the month. We do up the amount that you can put out from 4 to 6 yards, because when we were doing it all in 1 week, the week of Veg Amnesty, that killed us. It was a lot. Those were very, very long days. So we'll be pushing that on social media like we always do, just so everyone's aware, and we'll update that every single week, just so people know. Because it seems that every year, as soon as June rolls around, that's when everyone wants to do all their landscaping, and they ask, can they get the amnesty for that? This weekend, we have the Easter egg hunt at Bryant Park, Easter Bonnet Parade, Kids Zone, the whole deal. So that's in Bryant Park on Saturday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. So if people are around, definitely check that out. It's always a good time. On May 6th, on that meeting, we'll have our procurement director here to discuss the search firm for the city manager search, as well as I pushed out to all of you last week the P3, a draft of a P3 policy and unsolicited proposal policy. So I will have that on the May 6th agenda too, to discuss. I have gotten comments back from one of you already with some. It'll be a good discussion. I think it'll be a good thing to move forward with. And then finally, is he leaving?
He's praying.
I did want to touch on the fact that Mr. McVoy, this involves you. Just real quick, code complaints. We've had the conversation before that you guys have stated that if someone has a code complaint and they don't want to put it under their name, they can use your names to do that. Some situations have come up where, and I might have looked at the attorney for this, because per the law, you need to actually provide your name and address when you're providing these complaints. Well, when they're doing it under each of your names, if they're doing it, if they're not reaching out to you first, and you guys are unaware that this is happening, and you may or may not know what the situation is, and have some concerns as to why they're doing that, we might need to look at how this is going to happen, because as of right now, it's not actually following the law. So I'm not sure how you guys want to address this, but again, if someone is putting in a complaint under your name and you're unaware of this, it's kind of skirting around what the actual.
I think the anticipation was someone would tell us, and then we would actually put the complaint in, not. Right.
That's what I do.
And that's not what's necessarily happening.
No, I was gonna say that's what yeah.
Right.
So I just wanted to mention that as these complaints come in, if they're not coming from, we need to find a way to basically notify each one, just to make sure that it's actually coming from each of you.
Sure.
And if it's not, then we would just have to close the complaint out.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you have a question, Ms. May?
Yeah, but I'll wait till he's done.
Oh, that was actually the last thing I had.
I just have a quick question, regarding the lifeguards and just, do we want to do challenge coins?
Yes, but we wait a couple months.
We
let
need
everything
to-
Settle down.
We
Okay.
wait.
Or also, I had a similar thought, not necessarily challenge ones, but did they get any sort of counseling support? Any
Yeah,
other
they
sort?
do. We have that. I asked that.
The city with through HR, we do have an EAP program, not for just particular situations like this, but pretty much anything. That's one of the services that are offered to our
I would
employees.
certainly hope that we encourage them to,
That's the
it's
first
gotta be
question
pretty
I asked.
intense.
That's all I had, Madam Mayor. Unless
Madam Attorney?
I have nothing tonight. Thank you.
Wait,
Someday
do-
you're gonna come up with
wait,
something.
Do you have an update on the Kava conversation?
So one of the things at one of your pre-agenda meetings, you all had asked about regulation of kava bars and vape shops. So I sent you all a letter maybe a month ago about vape shops. That one there are some serious preemptions for that. We are still looking into the regulation of kava, and there are other jurisdictions who are regulating kava and other similar types of products. So we're going to talk about what that looks like for you from, like a zoning perspective, and then also from an enforcement perspective, and maybe bringing back some options, but that is in the works.
And for the vape, we have no control even over what hours they sell the stuff, what hours of operation? If it's a hookah bar?
You have hours of operation for all of your businesses. So I haven't looked into.
Because if one wants to be open 24 hours, or they're open till 3 or 4 in the morning, we have no control over that.
I think we do.
You do, and all of your businesses have business hours in your code, and a lot of your businesses, I won't say a lot, there are some businesses that are not sticking to their approved business hours. And
So what are you doing for it?
PBSO and is helping with that to the extent that they can. That is something that we discuss at our task force meetings regularly.
Thank you.
Ms. May?
Just one quick question on the same note. Because I remember we were talking specifically also about signage downtown, the neon flashing signage. And then I guess this is for the city manager, because if it's something that, if code goes home at 5, they're not going to see flashing neon lights. So how do we deal with that? Because it's not dark yet. And how do we deal with the businesses that are open 24 hours a day, or this also has to do with the businesses on G Street that are doing the machinery at 2 in-the-morning?
we definitely won't have staff working at 2 a.m. But I know code has some offset schedules. I'll have to get with William and Yolanda to get the exact schedule and the offsets on that. I can get back with you guys for that. Yep.
And with signage, this is just throw a thought. There's those signs, those fluttery, long, tall signs, which I think look cheap and degrade our city. And I would like to, if at some point we have consensus about.
What are these?
I forget.
Called the
there's
wayfinding sign, and they are illegal. The
Those
wave
long,
signs.
tall ones, yeah.
You're
they're-
not supposed to have
Oh,
those.
The long.
the blow?
No. The ones that stick in the ground. They're tall, they're narrow.
There are
Yeah.
3 in front of my gym on Lantana Road.
Yeah. For you?
Oh, those are.
Yeah, because
illegal?
our sign sits so far back, nobody can see the sign,
Oh,
and they
but
won't let me
I-
move the sign, so.
You come into the city and you see those and it just looks like Coney Island, and I really don't like it. If they're illegal, I think we should, that's an easy thing to enforce. They're illegal? All right, so then we should enforce them. It's an easy thing to enforce. So stay in Lantana with your crazy sign. So, but yeah, I'd like to enforce that, because really there's all of a sudden there's a lot of them and they just look terrible.
Yeah, the snipe signs, I see a lot of them around.
Yeah.
And I
So,
think those are illegal.
I think we are about to have a motion.
To adjourn.
There you go. Do I have a second?
People-
You all wanna
Second.
stay here?
Second.
All in favor?
That's when Ramsey
Aye.
got
Second
it.
myself.
Yes, she can second it. Thank you very much. We're adjourned.